Dahlia.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 19th of November 2017. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Yep.
And Robert Kemp.
Dramatic pause.
Damn it.
As Rob tries to think of something hilarious to say to play off yep.
I thought that was because your response was so short that you didn't have time to get in front of the microphone.
No, I
He was
was
plenty sat.
I was successfully seated. But I sit here defeated.
Yep, okay.
Oh, sad times.
My intro I sheeted.
You sheeted it.
It's because before we started you were trying to think of something good to do. You never do that.
My
That
brain
doesn't
power is
work.
depleted.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
This rhyme is conceited.
What's the conceit? The fact that you're rhyming.
But it's fairly easy to rhyme anything that ends with N.
Yeah, that's true.
The concept repeated.
Anyway, how you doing, listeners? This is the Saladcast.
Ask them a question they cannot answer.
That's okay. It's nice to ask if people are all right, isn't it? They don't have to be able to answer. It's like can be rhetorical, that one, can't it?
Can it be rhetorical? When you ask someone if they're okay, can that actually be a rhetorical question?
I don't know. You tell me. Maybe no.
The audience are well treated.
I guess if you knew for sure that they were okay, then you could ask it rhetorically, right? Because that's basically what rhetorical questions are. It's like you're asking something you already know the answer
You already know the answer to. Yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe it's rude to presume that people are okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it?
I don't know.
He speeted.
What are you doing?
I couldn't find a figure of another eated. I kept that up for a long time.
Do you ever get that when you just because everyone assumes the answer to "Are you all right?" or "Are you how are you all
You're
right?"
right, mate.
You're
You're
right.
right.
And the
How's it
answer
going,
is,
mate?
"Yeah,
You're
I'm
right.
all right. How are you? You all right?"
Yeah,
But
I'm good, mate.
if you ask like, "You all right?" and they're like, "No," and you're like, "Oh damn, I didn't
right, mate.
actually,
Well, no, actually-
care."
Yeah, you don't want to actually have a conversation.
No.
Well, no, in fairness, surely that's the easiest conversation anyone can ever have, right? If you have some kind of general malaise, you can just be like, that's my opener. And it's like, you're right, mate, and I'm like, nah, I'm feeling a bit crappy, mate. Actually, I got a bit of a cold. I've got that head flu that's going around.
Well, as long as you're willing to extrapolate yourself and not just be like, no, because then they have to try and question
yeah,
you
what,
what the problem is.
Well, if you just stopped.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right? No. Okay.
But when you say like, yeah, I'm not so great actually, like the actually
Even that,
kind of
it's
that
like-
the actually part kind of implies, well, it's true, isn't it? That's not the expected answer.
Yeah.
You know?
And the tone, I suppose, is leading, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
If you said it like that, it would be like, I'm not so great actually. And it's like that. Basically, the social etiquette at that point is for the other person to ask the question why. You've sort of led them into that.
Yeah, exactly.
They could equally just go like if you said, "No, I'm not feeling so good actually." They could just go, "All right, cool. See you later."
Shame.
Oh, cool. So,
Shame. And it's like,
oh, that's a shame.
oh, that sucks, mate. Anyway, I got a problem.
Anyway,
Anyway, bye. I'm now done with this conversation and I'm leaving.
Sucks for you.
that's pretty good, Rob. That was quite succinct. I'll use that. Oh, that sucks. Anyway,
I'm really
anyway,
sorry,
moving on.
but I'm going to make your day worse.
Yeah. Sorry, I asked.
Oh, that is really the dismissive. That is the most dismissive.
Yeah.
No, the most dismissive is like, don't even let them answer and just carry on. How are you, mate? Oh, I don't really care.
How are you, mate? Listen. just immediately get started there. You're right, mate. How you doing? Listen. Just come off immediately.
Listen.
Now listen here.
What's your go-to? I use "How's it going" a lot. I don't know why, as opposed to "How are you?" Or what's yours?
Oh,
You're right.
I mean,
You're right.
I mean, I tend to open with "You're right" or something like that, but no one really answers that. That's just sort of my hello.
Yeah, they don't even
Like,
answer. Even as a question.
if it then moves on for that, I think like, how are you keeping seems to be my one at the moment.
Really? How are you keeping?
How you keeping?
That's a good one.
I think I use that in the sort of, if it's someone I'm not super acquainted with, if you know what I mean. Like,
Right.
just acquainted, I suppose, is the
Right.
phrase.
Acquaintances.
People I know, but aren't really that frequently conversing with, I suppose.
You say, how are you keeping?
How you keeping? You alright? That is basically the equivalent of, you alright?
Yeah. I don't know why I say how's it going.
No, it's sort of one of those.
Right. Some don't say how's tricks, but only to certain people, probably.
For some reason, I've started saying fella a lot recently as well.
Fella.
You're right, fella.
What is going on?
Yeah. Well, I do this. Like weird phrases just pass through me. It's like I've stopped. I think I've got past. Yeah. I think I've got past the "if that's okay" phase because that was quite bad for a while.
Because you end up saying it all the time. Well, not you.
It's like if I'm ordering something at McDonald's, it would be like, I'll have a Big Mac meal if that's okay. And they're like,
right.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
So yeah, some people would be quite funny about it and pick it up. Of course it's okay. So it's a restaurant.
I still do my McDonald's Burger King test.
Do you want onion rings with that?
Yeah.
The test, you know, my stupid test where I know exactly what I want, right? Because it's on the menu. So I tell them everything that I want in one go.
Right, and
then
see what questions they ask.
Yeah, if they fail, if they start asking things that I've already told them, and sometimes they can fail like 2 or 3 times by going through the whole thing again.
Oh right, so even if they ask you what one little bit is, you just repeat the whole thing. So it's
no.
like I'll have a medium Big Mac meal with a strawberry milkshake, please.
Yeah,
and then they come like, oh, what drink do you want with that? I'll have a Big Mac meal with a strawberry milkshake.
Please. To take away. I should do that.
That should be the only response you have to any question they have.
You have to say more than that because you have to say the size. You have to say the.
You're right. So
drink.
a medium Big Mac meal with a strawberry milkshake to take away, please.
Yeah, that's it. If you say that, then they start asking.
I'll be that. Do you want to go large with that? I have a medium Big Mac meal with fries and a strawberry milkshake to take away, please. Is that eat in or take away?
You're eating in.
I'll have a Big Mac meal, medium.
You can't just do it.
What you reckon I'm confused?
You have to make sure that you say the exact same thing every time to make it really obvious that it's dumb.
I suppose. Because if you suddenly went, I'll take away a medium Big Mac meal with strawberry milkshake, I think I know what you're doing.
Do that. You could
vary the order.
Rearrange it so that the part that they ask you is always the first thing that you reply.
Yeah.
And then just carry on the rest.
What drink would you like? I'd like a strawberry milkshake with my medium Big Mac meal to take away.
Which I'm taking away. Exactly.
Or make it the last. It'll be like, what drink do you want for that? Well, with that Big Mac meal that I'm taking away and it's medium, I want strawberry milkshake.
You know what, that would be really annoying.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because like if especially on the go large question, so do you want to go large with that? Well, this Big Mac meal with a strawberry milkshake that I'm taking away should be medium. That's quite awkward.
I sometimes shift between medium and regular. I think regular might be clearer sometimes.
Well, it's not really medium, is it?
I think the official language is medium, though.
It depends, I think.
It is a McDonald's. The official term is medium.
Technically, you even have to say that because it's like that's just the standard.
I know, but you do have to say because that means they can't ask. If you say regular or medium, that means they can't ask you to go large, right? So
depends if
that's
the
why
burger
you
has a variant, because then a regular Big Mac meal would just be like it's a Big Mac meal with no changes, like to the Big Mac necessarily. Because what have you got? Like a chicken legend? Because you've got the cool mayo.
I'm saying you don't have to say regular or medium to imply the medium size, unless you want to avoid the large question.
Well,
but then you're defeating the purpose of the challenge.
Yeah.
So what happens if they ask you for onion rings? Is that the point where
you're allowed to say no? They don't do that in the UK. They don't like upsell you on stuff you haven't asked for.
Even BK have stopped that.
Yeah, I've never had them ask me, "Do you want onion rings as well?" I have to ask for that.
Do you want fries with that? I think.
No, because it's a meal, right? So you
Yeah.
get the fries and
People
the
understand. Unless you say you want the fruit instead.
Do you want the fruit?
Do you want the fruit?
Oh,
Get the
yeah.
fruit, get
I've
the
never
fruit.
been asked, did you want the fruit? Yeah.
I don't think I've been asked that in any circumstance. I do you want the fruit.
Well, I don't think. I mean, I guess you've never ordered a kids meal because that would be the one
I guess.
where like the
It would
different
be-
parts of kids meals are specified.
And you'd be encouraged, I suppose. But you can, like, on those touchscreen panels, if you want, swap your fries
Yeah,
for fruit
you can, yeah.
on any meal.
Oh, man.
So we could make this way more complicated.
Those touchscreen
Like,
panels are
can I
funny
have
as well, though, because like the experience, like the default, what I consider the default is like at the end of the lists usually, or like in a weird. It's like not the first. You'd think it would be on the top
burgers
left.
Burgers is like center screen,
Right.
Like if you think of it that way. So you've got like your whatever that left bar is that I never look at. Probably
Yeah.
That's probably your order bar, like what you've got so far. Burgers is right in the middle of the screen. So it's for me, it's like a face height. So I'm staring right at burgers.
Yeah,
You've
that's
got what's
fine.
new. You got what's new above it. And
Yeah, I still
Yeah,
think that
especially-
UI could be improved.
Oh, it's awful because
Yeah.
it's like it's over for the kit that they're using to power it. It's over animated and so way too slow.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Come on.
it doesn't,
Come on,
doesn't
guys.
doesn't quite work. Like
You
if
can
you got rid
afford
of
some-
your
I mean, if you're getting rid of all these like human employees, I'm sure you can afford some better UX design on your freaking
especially
UI.
well that one at Ipswich they've gone all in on that. Like it's just those and there's like a single like order point now for like people actually talking to people.
Yeah.
And to the point where the counter isn't actually a full counter anymore. It's just got a giant hole in it where people can just walk into the kitchen or walk like to and from the back. It's like they're just gone as that door, like the staff door. It's like no, they just walk in and out. They just walk through the gap.
All right.
It's really odd. It seems like there's something missing. I'm tempted just to wander into the kitchen and go, "All right, mate, how you keeping back here?"
How you keeping, fella?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slap some cheese on it, fella.
How you keeping, fella? Oh my
Do you want me to go?
God. Oh dear.
I'm thinking about it. I think I use it more in the plural. So if I'm walking past,
Fellas.
like if I'm saying it to a group, it's like, right, fellas.
I still say guys, even if they're all female. I still say guys. Hi guys, how's it going? See, there you go. There's a combination.
Yeah.
That's the way I speak.
I don't even know if I don't know how I approach groups of ladies anymore. I don't maybe
Ladies.
well, I've known friends. or whatever.
Ladies.
I think it might actually be just ladies.
Oh dear.
Just to be creepypasta.
Yeah,
Ladies.
that's not what cream pasta is.
No, that's not what cream. Yeah. So what's going on? Any? I heard you had a new phone, Rob.
I do have a new phone.
What? Because Windows Phone is you clung on to that,
Yeah, I clung on for way too long.
but it's gone to
So
the
so
great phone operating system in the sky or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's just the all of the things that phone. Well, it does everything a phone does, but it just doesn't do them all at the times I want them to do it. It's like if I was trying to demo the maps functionality just sat here now, it would work absolutely fine. If I try and use it in the car, there's a 50% chance that it will go, "You haven't got GPS, mate." And I'd be like,
That's probably not necessarily the phone's fault.
well, it kind of is, because at the same time, if you press the location button, it would go, "You're here," and it's like, no, that's right. And the location services icon would appear, going, "No, that's okay." But then I could be driving down the motorway for like an hour, and it still won't know where GPS is, and things like that. And it's like, come on. The only way to fix it is to reboot the phone, and then it works straight out. And it's like, great, that's not helpful at all. I think like the theory behind there's a theory behind why I can't hang up on my Windows Phone like occasionally, which is you'll pull it away from your face and the screen won't turn on. So so I can't press the button
You can't hang
to
up.
hang up. And the Windows Phone doesn't let you override that with the power button, it seems. So I think my proximity sensor is screwed in some way. So I can't. So half the time, after no, bye, and then it's like, I can't hang up. Stupid phone, and then it hangs up. So people get angry, Rob, at the end of phone calls. Stupid phone. Yeah, and if I'm listening to something in the car over Bluetooth whilst anything else on the phone is happening, it crackles and cuts out. So using GPS maps whilst listening to a podcast is a bad idea. And, I drive a lot at the moment. So
Yeah, you do.
So, I just got fed up with it. It doesn't function. So I've gone all in and I have an S8.
Ooh.
I've gone Android.
And why does it have an annoying blue flashing light on it?
Because you've got a notification light for some reason. I think I can turn that off.
Just hope so. It's probably not bright enough to illuminate the room at night.
No, it's not that. It's not that bright. I sort of missed that because I remember when I had like my like super old Windows PDA phone, like when it was running Windows Mobile 5 or something, and I had a stylus and a flip-out keyboard and that kind of nonsense. It's like that had LEDs on it that would like blink red when I got messages, and it's like, well, that's actually kind of useful. I can see it from afar when I've missed a message. So we'll see how I get on with this blinky light. It also has a screen that never turns off unless it's in your pocket, which I'm questioning how much battery life that's going to burn.
Yeah.
But it's my first experience with Android. It's quite overwhelming. Everything wants to tell me everything.
Tell you everything.
Well, like notifications up the wazoo. It's just endless. Like you walk near, like I went to Cambridge yesterday and I went by a Tesco's and it basically asked, it suddenly popped up a notification saying, does Tesco's have great produce? And I'm like,
what?
Why do you care? It's because Google Maps has this like community driven like information gathering thing now. I think they call it Google Guides or something, which of course they've gamified so you can level it up by telling it information about places you go to. But I don't want to be constantly poked like, hey, there's something there. And like every time I get in or it thought I was driving, it would go, this is what the traffic's like, and put it up as a notification on screen. So the phone would go, hey, you got a thing. And it's like, no, Google wants to tell you about the traffic. I'm like, no, okay, I'm turning that off as well.
So these are things you're basically opting out of things for the first 3 days.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I spent most of my Friday afternoon figuring out how to turn most of the phone off.
Oh dear.
Which is just a bit. It is mental. It's like because Galaxy Apps was constantly trying, which is Samsung's own app store suggester thing, was installing stuff on its own and putting notifications up saying, hey, we think you might like this. And it's like, no, okay, I'm turning those off immediately. The 3 app was bombarding me with stuff saying, hey, you congrats on getting your phone. You might like these apps. And it's like, right, okay, more marketing. I can turn that off. Whenever I was downloading apps and stuff, admittedly, this bit's kind of okay. Whenever I was downloading things, it would put updates on screen to say, hey, I'm downloading. Hey, I'm done downloading. I'm installing now. Hey, I've installed. And it's just like all of these were separate notifications. It's like, oh God, make it stop.
But are the notifications at least like grouped because on iPhone they're just like
it does bundle them a little bit, and there is an incredibly quick shortcut to blocking them. Like
Cool.
even if the app wants to send them, you can tell Android to block them, which is quite nice. And you can do that just by long pressing any notification that goes, and it takes you to the app blocking screen.
Oh, that's good.
I
don't know a shortcut to do that on iOS, so you have to go into the settings and find the app and turn off notifications that way.
Yeah. So it's just taken. It took quite a long time to get it to be in a state where I think I can use it, and like I had found myself immediately missing some of the simplicity of Windows Phone. Like, Windows Phone might not have functioned, but that design is so nice. Just how you use Windows Phone is fantastic. I love the tiles. I love how like a lot of its apps support that select shortcut where instead of tapping on the item, you just tap on the left-hand side of the screen and it goes into select mode. So you can just quickly go bang, 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 get rid of those. And multi-select really fast. And I've been finding myself doing that on here, going, oh yeah, I can't do that.
I can't do it. Yeah.
And if you're lucky, some of the apps will have, if you tap the circle representation of the thing, like your picture or something on messages, or the what do they call it? The initials that it's attached to an email, that will sometimes go into select mode, and you can do it that way. But that requires a bit of a long press, and the state of the widgets is very variable. Some of them you can make look nice and not have a background. Others want to look like the app. So, like the Gmail app, for instance, has to be red and white, no matter how you're trying to theme your home screens and things like that. So, like, just make it nice and have a transparent background and not have a scrollable panel. Just show the last email or something. Like, I kind of just want tiles. The Windows design was so good.
Yeah.
For a home screen for a phone, tiles were perfect.
No, I agree. I don't really understand the dominance of the kind of... it's all very well that iPhone or whatever, when it came out in 2007, had a grid of icons, with the little notifications. But why did Android copy that for a start? And then why hasn't things moved on in bloody years and years?
I mean, widgets are supposed to solve that problem to some degree, right?
Yeah.
But you can't... Admittedly, I haven't done too much research. I haven't had enough time or enough gumption to just search around, see if I could find specific widgets for Gmail, for instance, to tidy that stuff up. Like, maybe there are apps out there. Gmail, I mean, Android is so flexible, right? That there are apps. An app in Android basically could be anything.
Yeah.
Like, not an app in the traditional sense. It could be something that does something else.
Yeah, it's quite different.
Like an add-in to a thing, or a little bit of functionality here, or a theming overrider, or the entire interface of the phone, as it turns out.
Yeah, well, isn't the Samsung phone isn't stock, right?
Android. No, it's running Samsung Experience, they've called it now, which is basically just TouchWiz, which is what they used to call it, but snazzed up for the 8s, and it's fine actually. The Samsung stuff is good. I'll give it that. But if I wanted to, I could download the APK for Pixel Launcher, for instance, and turn my phone into a Pixel.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
It's Android. You just can if you want.
Yeah, that's cool.
I can change the messaging app from the Samsung one back to the stock Android one at any time if I want, because it's just an app. And it's like, so there are elements of that to the phone where you just look at it and go, okay, that's really smart. Everything about this phone is modular. Everything. And if I wanted to, I could change it. They do put some hoops to jump through. For instance, the Pixel Launcher isn't available on the App Store. I'd have to sideload it onto the phone if I really wanted it. But you can do that. And some of the apps that take over or change how your lock screen functions, for instance, don't get on with the Samsung thing. And instead of taking over Samsung's thing, they add an extra step. So you do the Samsung one and then you do the other one. And it's like, so certain things like that don't quite work. But, it's the fact that you can, and you can try it and you can mess with it. Which means I've been messing with it way too much. Most of the time just to land back where I started. Got a nice camera. And it works as a phone. And it has a slight Bluetooth audio issue in the car, which I'm having to try and figure out.
I'm sure you could probably fix that.
Yeah, it's a known problem with the S8s, but there's a lot of discussion around it, and a lot of workarounds to try. Some work, some don't. Your usage may vary.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah, phone review. Android is fun. It's mental. I don't know how regular ass people use it out of the box, because it's taken me so long to get it to this point where I think I'm in its happy spot.
Because you've had to turn so many things off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, app defaults, man. Just in general, like when you install an app these days, they want to be super talkative and terrible. Like the Facebook defaults these days. Ugh. Was it Facebook? Yeah, it was Facebook because like its default setting for like video content is play with sound.
Yeah.
So I was just scrolling Facebook and all of a sudden an ad for Battlefront actually just starts blaring out of my phone and I'm like, oh God, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's because Facebook is just playing it with sound by default. I didn't know that was a thing. So now I have to go digging through the options trying to find where that is.
To turn that off.
Unfortunately, you can turn that off. App defaults suck.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's no podcast. That is the other thing. There's no podcast.
Oh, that's annoying.
There's no stock podcast player, so I've had to go get an app for that.
Yeah.
Which
is there
and
a
then
good
that
one?
took an exceed. There are a few recommended ones, but none for free.
I'll see what my brother uses, and that might be helpful.
I'm using Podcast Addict at the moment, which seems okay, but has ad banners unless you pay money. And I'm reluctant to spend money on something that's just okay. I mean, I spent money on an app for my Windows phone, like a couple of quid, because Podcast Lounge, as it turns out, was pretty good at what it did and quite simple to use. But Podcast Addict seems a bit overcomplicated. It's very, very flexible, don't get me wrong, but it's not presented very well. So it's quite tricky to use, but it does seem to do the job of auto-downloading and auto-playlisting and auto-deleting when you've listened to stuff. So
yeah.
So I'll stick with it for a while. Oh, and it's also compatible with Google Auto, which is a big plus.
What's that?
When I get in my car, the phone knows it's in the
thing.
car, and so boots a nice big screen app to control things.
Cool. That's quite good.
Yeah. There's some neat stuff there you can do. So yeah, Android. It's mental.
You know what else is mental?
Well, there's a more mental thing. Yeah, go for it.
Well, it's technically your story, but I was making a transition to it.
Well, you were here.
Yeah, I was here.
About that car fire.
Yeah, about a couple of hours after the end of the last podcast, in fact.
Yeah.
While I was still here, we were playing Splatoon.
Because we could.
And it was
Power of the Switch.
bonfire night also.
Yeah.
Which may or may not have had anything to do with this.
Well, we thought it did at first. So we're sat there playing Salmon Run on Splatoon, and then around the edges of the curtain, things got quite bright orange for a moment, or what we thought was going to be a moment. Let's put it that way. We're like, wow, that's a really bright firework. Oh, that glow's not going away.
Oh dear.
And then Gnome had a quick peek, and it's like, I think that car's on fire. And then probably freaks out. And then after a while, we suddenly realise, oh yeah, we've got a hose. Let's deal with this. But yeah, it's literally right outside
Seriously?
my house.
Okay. You call the fire brigade,
outside
right?
the window. Oh yeah. That was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
And fair play to them, they were pretty quick.
Well, they didn't really have that far to go.
No,
As we worked out in the end.
Yeah, once we remembered where the fire station in Ipswich actually is, it's like, oh, it's not actually that far away. That's fine.
You'd hope they'd be on high alert on fireworks night as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that would have been why they might have taken longer.
Yeah,
they
probably
might have
maybe,
been out
yeah.
on some other fireworks-related thing.
I might have had more to deal with, let alone car fires.
I would think.
Well, unless fireworks cause quite a lot of car fires, I don't know. Like stuff falling from the sky.
I don't know, car fire seems like it would take precedence over most fireworks-related fires on bonfire night.
Maybe.
Unless it got really out of hand. Unless it was like a fireworks show.
Or house.
Well, yes, or if a house match.
House fire should always come first, I guess. Yeah, so that was quite irritating, to say the least.
So how did that start? Do you know? No idea.
Well,
Someone chucked petrol on it. That's how it started.
yeah. So Zach thought I say thought.
I mostly thought.
You mostly thought, yeah, so I guess 80% confidence level that you saw someone running away from it
Yeah.
as it went up.
Chucking stuff out of a bucket of some description onto it. And then setting it on fire.
So it was
Yeah.
arson right outside
Yeah.
your window,
Yeah,
right? What?
So we
Someone's
dealt
got
with
a
it,
grudge
and then-
against whoever owns that car?
against a neighbour up the road.
Apparently.
Um,
Because.
Well, Well, yeah. So we hang around for a while, and it's like the police basically say, "Hey, we'll come back. We'll come back in a bit to take a statement from Zach because you said you saw something, so we'll come deal with it." You had contact with the police, and and it's like so we hung around for a while. Like it took them like a good hour to get to us, I suppose.
Well,
like,
yeah, it was surprising that it even was that quick, really. I guess, but I
In the middle
suppose
of the
around
night.
here the police don't necessarily have that much to do.
yeah, I don't think there's reasonable gang and drug problems in Ipswich now at the moment. Apparently, so I've heard. Yeah, but anyway, they were. Yeah, so we played a bit more Splatoon until then.
As we do.
They dealt with that. Zach went home. Noam and I went to bed. A bit not really able to sleep at this point, and which is quite convenient because 2 hours later, about 3 a.m, a familiar orange glow appears.
Oh.
The same car is on fire. The same car is on fire.
They're like, well, it's not fully burned. Let's carry on.
Well, it was pretty messed up after the first attempt. Most of the front of that thing was melted.
They got the front, but not the rest of it.
Yeah, I guess. Whatever, but they just wanted to make sure whatever was in the boot was done.
Yeah, clearly.
And so they had another go, which was way more deliberate this time because it was basically
way more deliberate.
well, as in it was
as deliberate, but more obvious.
Yeah, I guess that's true. There was like a green petrol can that was just hanging out on the roof, burninating.
Okay.
So we did the whole dance again.
Police came back. Fire engine came back.
Yeah. This time the police were on the scene with the fire engine. They came all at once and was like, okay, this is weird.
It's very weird.
Because everyone was like, this. They basically was like, this is one of the more unusual things we've dealt with. It's a car on fire twice. So they were like, because it's that strange and because it seems like this, because it's super obvious this is deliberate. We don't normally recover burnt out vehicles in the middle of the night. But we're going to make an exception to get a call out here. Right. So about half an hour after everything had died down, a recovery truck came and dealt with it. Except the debris was there for like a week and a half. Like the bits that had fallen off the car were just sort of left in the road, like as a black mess, until like a couple of days ago, where they put. It seemed like a two-step process. Someone obviously came and had put like spray paint on the ground, like red box around the debris. like
2 weeks later?
Stuff you need. Yeah, here's the stuff you need to move out of the way, and then a day later, the stuff was gone. So it's like there's the red box of debris. Just bizarre. But it totally. Well, yeah, we were a bit. Had a day of just had to try and work the next day with no sleep and being a little on edge. Yeah, and it's so that was no fun. And obviously, like Noam was a bit freaked out over the whole thing. She had that. I'm still convinced this is a film thing, but cars don't explode, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so she had that sort of film thing, and like it was just gonna because it's like it's fuel, like the fire was going towards the back of the car, the fuel tank's just gonna go right, it's gonna explode, it's gonna damage our house, and it's like that's not really how it works. I'm pretty sure they just get fiery.
Yeah, they don't explode like concussive explosion. There's like a woof. And
yes.
Gets
that's
more flames.
Yeah, it would get more fire. It wouldn't get more boom.
Unless the fuel tank was very well sealed
and highly compressed.
Work.
Yeah. So I wasn't too worried, but yeah, no thought that was a thing.
No, it's not like in Grand Theft Auto where it smokes for a while and then it explodes. It looked like a chain reaction.
Gotta get that tanker to go up. Okay.
Yeah. But any suspected motive for like whose car was
God
it?
knows. So
obviously an insurance scam. It's got to be right.
Well, we don't know.
Burning your own car,
like a really bad one.
So no one thinks it's the cartel of some description.
The cartel.
Yeah.
What, like the Mexicans?
Yeah. Well, because there's a guy we found out whose car it was the second time because he came out.
To act innocent.
I guess, yeah.
Oh, my car's on fire.
Although I'm not sure how much he would have had to have acted because he was off his tits. like he was just he didn't speak a great deal of English, I don't think, or if he did, the alcohol was taking over, so he couldn't.
Right.
And his mate seemed quite happy about the whole situation. I don't know.
So that's the person who set on fire.
It was him, yeah.
Maybe. He seemed to be sort of enjoying trying to control his friend. Like he was like, "Wah!" and then falling over a bit, and then.
Jeez, what the hell is going on in Ipswich?
To the point where Gnome sort of looked at me and was just like, "What have we gotten ourselves into?"
You haven't got yourselves into anything. Just place
because
place the curtains.
I guess we were trying to assist, I suppose, but yeah. And we're the ones with a hose twice.
Also unnecessary.
Yeah, well.
Did you manage to fight the fire at all then with your hose?
Somewhat.
You could slow its progress, I suppose, but you weren't going to put it out.
Well, it's because you weren't going to open it up to get to where the fire was on the inside. You were just spraying it over the bits that the water.
And also, the pressure that we could get out of the hose, there's nowhere near enough water flow really to cover it properly. Not compared to what that engine can kick out, anyway. Yeah, so that was exciting.
Okay. It's news.
Yeah, hotbed for arson. Coming at you.
Yeah.
This podcast is on fire.
Well,
so that's why you could tell it was clearly got to be some kind of insurance fraud thing, because it was a very specific car. It wasn't like a random car. It's way deep in the estate, and it's the house that car is from is not even close to where it's parked.
What was I saying? Unless it's a gang vendetta. Right?
Well, yeah, but then it's still a very specific car.
Yeah.
They knew exactly which car they were going for. It wasn't just a random thing.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't random if they came back.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
Nothing else has been set on fire since.
They always return to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
To commit the crime again.
It's a double murder.
Maybe that was maybe where they realised where they were like, oh shit, I shouldn't have taken the gas can with me. Now it's evidence, so I'll have to go back and put the gas can on it, and then set it on fire to burn the evidence. It's this is realising what they've done, and it's well, I guess I'm gonna have to solve this problem with more fire.
Of all the things they took away, the gas can was one of the things they left. So the only bit that could potentially have been evidence, except fire.
Yeah, but that's what I meant. They took the gas can away with them the first time, which is that's evidence that
No, but I mean the debris that was left after the second car fire. The cops weren't interested. It's I guess it was just, I guess fire.
Yeah, I guess you're not really going to be able to fingerprints on anything
zero.
Like that.
Yeah, zero evidence.
And if they were smart, they would have been wearing gloves anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just in fire safety, anyway.
Yeah,
anyway,
smart.
Yeah. If you're a professional.
Well, that's fireworks night in Ipswich.
We be burning.
Clearly, someone who was super pissed about the Needham fireworks getting cancelled.
Yeah, exactly. It's a protest.
It's because they heard us talking about it before I published the podcast. It got out there, and they thought they were doing my car. That's what it is. I've annoyed the firework mafia that lost money because they probably had to return all those Needham fireworks.
Well, they didn't get any fireworks. The other way.
Well, they didn't buy them in the first place. So yeah, the Needham firework mafia.
Cool.
That's the name of a terrible dance band. The
Needham firework mafia.
Do you reckon they'd go on the Nefarious Funk Bureau label?
I forgot about the Nefarious Funk Bureau.
Nefarious Funk Bureau. Yeah,
yeah, that was our label.
That would if we ever put a record out properly, we're totally using that. Be better than collusion.
Where did that come
collision
from?
Noiseware or something. Collusion Noiseware. Nefarious Funk Bureau of underwear or something.
Yeah,
yeah, that was
that's
it.
the part we're not saying. That's the actual full name of that brand.
Where did that one come from?
I'm pretty sure it was just one of those times where we had an acronym and we were like, what does that mean? And then we just, for some reason, came up with the Ferris Funk Bureau of Underwear.
That's right. I think it was me. I don't know why.
The NFBU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? You just whip out a badge?
No,
like,
I know what it was, Zach. It was the National Federation of Bus Users.
Go on.
What,
We
your
were on the
bus
bus
cards?
from school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
The Ferris Funk Bureau of Underwear.
yeah, exactly. Anyway. Any kitchen
What
bitch
would
and
funk and underwear have to do with it? Oh, I was supposed to actually.
That question immediately.
So they only investigate nefarious funks where the source is suspected to be pants.
Funks. What is a funk?
I assume I'm using it in the terms of like when someone walks into a room and has a bad smell.
A bad
right?
smell.
That's
a funk.
funky.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that would just be the funk.
Well,
It's got
I
a
mean,
funk.
you would.
I mean, it's another way of
has
listening
a
to music,
funk.
right? If you're
Yeah.
like listening to music, like and they're just talking about the funk all the time, you're like,
Yeah.
get an air freshener.
Yeah. Funky
The funk.
FM.
Some cow funk.
Oh yeah. Right.
That makes a whole lot more sense now.
We're supposed to
No,
talk
what's
about video
cow
games,
funk?
aren't we? But have you got any kitchen bits,
What?
Zach?
No. We can talk
Okay.
about video games.
We can talk about video games now. We've passed that threshold.
News.
Stolen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think it's copyrighted. We're fine.
What's going on in the world of video games?
Video
Most-
games.
Should we?
Loot boxes is what's going on.
Loot
in the world of
boxes,
video
fucking
games.
loot boxes.
Loot boxes continue to be opened.
Should we talk about this
Building.
now? So this
Yeah.
is freaking. Well, everyone's freaking out over Star Wars Battlefront 2, as if this wasn't inevitable. But like,
Well,
it
we
did
knew it was
seem.
coming thanks to their beta because
Mm.
where a lot of this was kind of surfacing.
But there was hope that the balance of it in the beta was at least a beta thing.
Yeah.
That maybe they made those values absurdly high of how long you would have to work without buying stuff to unlock characters, for instance. You know, they put that in the beta because they were unattainable, effectively.
Or they only wanted people playing the beta to get like one of them.
Yeah,
They want people just to see everything.
get a taste. Yeah,
So
it
the
sort of
headline that
made some sense.
I mean, I don't know if it's the same as the beta, but the headline I saw was basically it will take 40 hours of play to unlock Darth Vader without
Well,
without
now,
paying
yes,
anything.
That's not the beta. That's the real
No,
thing.
that's now, but that may have changed now.
That has changed.
well,
Actually, they
sort of.
they have for some of the characters they have in theory taken 75% of that time away.
But supposedly they also reduced the amount of money you get for completing the campaign, so
Yeah.
it sort of evened itself out.
To even it out.
Well, except that's
yeah.
campaign time as opposed to multiplayer time, I guess.
Well, yeah, but it's the campaign. The campaign was a big reward
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
end of it, and also,
But that was
regardless of that you can't earn campaigns in you can't earn campaigns. You can't earn money in multiplayer after a certain period of time per day. It's on
Yeah.
a cooldown
that's a crapper.
because
Cooldown.
free to play mechanics are now
Yep.
in actual real games.
in actual real
Yeah.
games. Yeah.
Not just people say that they are; they actually are now.
The Jim Sterling term for this stuff is becoming more and more apt. Like he calls games like this fee to pay. It's like you're paying a fee to get access to something you then have to pay for. And I'd like Battlefront is beginning to feel like that.
Why couldn't they have used the
Actually,
classic,
a lot of this year's games feel like that.
the classic WoW mechanic, or I guess Eve, where like
Subscription.
no, the mechanic where the longer you don't play, then when you do play, you earn things faster, right? Isn't that how it works? So like when you're not
Yeah, but
playing,
that's
you build
not-
up a meter that.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you get like a burst.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
you get a
not meant
boost.
to be a. That's not meant to be a bonus. That's meant to be a
stop you playing all the time, right?
Well,
Or-
yeah,
Or that you're not disadvantaged against people who do play all day, every day in WoW.
Or who can. Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're also paying a subscription, so to some extent, it's like the time when you're still paying but you're not playing is now worth something.
Worth something,
It
yeah.
can be recouped.
So
yeah.
they flipped it around in a genius way. I mean, they could have done that, right?
That's a fair way, I think. That's like that makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
wouldn't work for Star Wars because there's no. I mean, what is the not playing part of that? That's why that's why that mechanism is meant for subscriptions, because that's the only time it makes sense, when you're like
Fair
you're
enough.
on this time limit where you feel like you're wasting your money if you weren't playing constantly. Whereas
I guess,
Star Wars,
but-
you're meant to have bought the game and then you're just meant to play
You're
it.
meant to
I guess,
just play
but,
it. yeah.
but couldn't you use that? You use that same mechanic in a loot boxy sort of way, like in like say TF2's random drops, for instance, might be a good place to like. It's not how it works. Don't get me wrong, but like, so say you went away from the game, perhaps you built up.
Well, I mean, that is
a-
technically
a-
how it works, but
yeah,
not really.
to a certain amount of, if you came back to the game, you'd get a few unlocks faster than with a maximum ceiling, obviously.
Well,
To just get a bit of feel good when you come back
But
to the
that's
game.
that's just the same as being prevented from earning credits. It's just like in the TF2 version, you get a certain amount of drops per period of time, and then you don't get any more drops until a period of time has passed. It's just hidden. Whereas in this one, if you hit up against the you can't earn credits, it just straight up tells you come back in 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
It's basically exactly the same, except the TF2 one is hidden.
well, it's way more insidious than that, because the credit system and the drops and stuff. It's TF2's like drops. You could argue aren't as rewarding as where loot boxes have gone.
Well, yeah, so it's an old system.
Yeah, so it never felt egregious there. Now these sort of accumulating progressions are everywhere.
Well, no,
and it's like you're just making it more and more obvious that the system is being gamed.
Well, and it's worse in Star
for
Wars
things that
because
are
it's
worth a hell of a lot
actual
more.
progression.
Yeah, and it's actual progression, and that progression is lengthy. So you're limiting people's ability to do an already ridiculous progression.
And you can pay to win,
All in-
effectively, right?
Yeah,
It may be
all in
indirect.
service of people putting actual money in to upgrade your character faster, therefore gaining an advantage.
But now, no one can do that because they turned off the microtransactions.
They've turned it
Right.
all off. Yeah.
So
but they
now
haven't-
everyone has to grind. Woo!
But
That's
it
not a
seems like
solution.
the impression I get is that this stuff is like, that's not a solution, because this stuff is like baked into the game and there's no real way to
And
fix
they're
it.
just going to turn it back on.
Yeah, and they'll turn it back on.
They're just waiting for the heat to go down. That's basically what they
Yeah,
did.
that's what everyone is
People
saying.
bitched, and then it was like, "Oh, we're going to do you guys solid and turn it off." And it's like, and then when 2 weeks when no one cares anymore, you're going to turn it back on.
They'll turn it
It
back
is-
on,
it-
yeah.
I mean, we're dancing around it, but that whole, we have to talk about the Reddit apology or the Reddit explanation.
Yeah.
because this is
Which was a classic, like
this
a
is
bunch of words that don't actually mean anything. Kind of
kinda, but it's whoever's EA's public relations / marketing team just knowing exactly what to say to annoy as many people as possible.
You mean
Yeah,
not knowing exactly what to say, in other words?
In the real world, yes, that's true. But I think there's a skill involved in what they do, because they seem to know exactly how to push the world's buttons.
Yeah, but
It's like
they're
the biggest.
It's not a skill.
They are probably the highest paid professional trolls we've ever seen.
Oh, man.
Other
Apart
than
from
Donald
maybe
Trump.
Donald Trump, yeah, but he's
Yeah.
not that well paid, maybe. I mean,
Not at the moment, anyway.
He probably gets paid less than Soderlund. You know,
Hmm.
what did we come up with? No, yeah, is he Douche McCock?
Who knows?
I thought it
Or
had
is he
nozzle
smiling
in
like
there somewhere.
Smartface?
So
I think we landed on Douche McCock.
the other suspicious rumor going around was that, like, once everyone was pissed and there was a marginal amount of EA stock going down, and it started to hit mainstream media, then supposedly the rumor going around is there was a phone call between the Disney CEOs and the EA CEOs.
Ooh.
Disney don't like Star Wars being portrayed in a negative light.
Twice in a month.
Hmm. I mean,
You've
and
mishandled
because
Star Wars.
and you know, well, I suppose it's natural for it to be the audience of the game that are the ones that are pissed off, and the audience of the game being the Star Wars fans. But we are talking geeks, basically, who obviously
and it's like,
Star Wars is
you
quite
know,
important to.
And there's like the film is coming quite soon, so you don't want to have any negative Star Wars press just before the major film comes out.
The thing I don't understand about the state of loot boxes as they are now is the biggest and best games have already proven that you can have a loot box system in the game that isn't pay to win and still make a lot of money out of it.
Yeah.
You just have to make that stuff compelling from an aesthetic point of view.
And Star Wars has
Overwatch
got... It's
is
like
the best example. Yeah,
like people saying
Overwatch
Star
is
Wars
the current best example, but Star Wars has such a ridiculous range of cool things.
Of cool stuff that people would want. Yeah. I mean,
how much is it of it would be canon any longer?
None of it.
They've eliminated all the cool stuff they had, so now they actually have to like.
But now they can recreate that canon. They have carte blanche almost to do it again.
Maybe EA doesn't. Maybe like
there's plenty that's in canon that you could use.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got prequels, the original trilogy, and sequels. You know, every character,
that's still technically in.
I guess.
Was it the Clone Wars CG cartoon?
Clone Wars is canon, and Rebels is canon.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything in the games from those. Is there? No, I think they just.
All I know of. Yeah.
Not for. I mean Battlefront, because they just use stuff from the films.
You know, and they've got the new stuff to pull from as well.
Exactly, they've got there's tons of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like I think. There is arguments to say that, you know, there's plenty of stuff they could add. They could, you know, if they got enough from the Star Wars to go a little bit crazy with it, perhaps having a Kick Me Jar Jar mask somewhere in there, you know.
They're not going to make the Gungans an actual army like when we were talking about with the droids. It's just like, you can't.
I would love to play a Gungan fight with their weaponry that makes dumbass noises.
Yep, exactly.
I would be so entertained. That would be an immediate best sound in games award for just those giant bubble bomb things. That
Jar Jar, using the boomba.
Everywhere. Yeah, there, the boombas.
We don't have a boomba. Yeah, using this one.
They sound fantastic. I would play a game that sounds like that. Oh wait, that's Plants vs Zombies. That kind of already sounds like that. Which, by the way, is another example of people doing this system well, because you can pay. I'm not even sure this is true of the original one. It had a currency progression system, but it was loot boxes effectively. You spent that currency that you earned in game on sticker packs but the system was as you would guaranteed get some consumables and some number of permanent stuff, but you would never get duplicate permanent stuff. And there was quite a lot of permanent stuff to unlock. So the system was always rewarding as a result. No microtransactions needed. The system just worked. And it's like, yeah, if you were gunning for specific characters, for instance, because you could unlock extra skins for the characters to make them behave differently, but even that had an advantage-disadvantage system. There was no one class you could get that was better than the base. They all had an up and down. And it's like, that system was perfect. To put it in the context of what we're talking about here, they got it right. It's like, and if they had added a microtransaction to pay for more of that currency, which I bet they did in PvZ too, I don't care. That's fine. If people want to spend that money, that's fine. It doesn't break the system.
Yeah.
It's like EA, when you put it in that context, EA have done it right before.
Well, kind of.
PopCap have done it right before.
Yeah, exactly.
And they are mobile developers, technically.
Not really. They were just developers.
I guess. Peggle. Mobile. Plants vs. Zombies. Mobile.
Yes, but you just have people at EA who just know how the Frostbite engine works, and then you just shove anything in it.
I guess. Yeah, who knows what that team actually was, I suppose. It just had PopCap's name on it, but probably DICE.
Yeah, probably.
Probably some subsidiary of DICE. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so frustrating that they feel that at some point in the management chain across both them, well, all of the major players, it seems, other than Blizzard now, that you have to have some kind of mechanical advantage tied to money.
It's because you say that they got it right, but they don't think they have. They think they can extract more money, but they can't. They're wrong.
They are wrong.
Except they're right, because they're still going to make tons of money, because goddamn consumers.
And goddamn Star Wars, I suppose. Star Wars is a license to print money, but... But still. As we said last time we talked about this, 4 weeks ago? It's just, well, maybe even 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. Did we do the Forza discussion 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks? I don't know. It's more than ever. It's getting to the point where I think people are just fed up with it. And it's like even the regular Joes that that aren't as aren't the video game enthusiasts that we might put ourselves into. People that might not follow the day-to-day news of this stuff. Even they, I think, are looking at this stuff now and going, no, too much.
Well, I mean, that was why when the Star Wars thing actually turned into actual regular person news, like it was on the front page of the BBC homepage. It was like, that's when Disney is going to fucking phone you and be like, what the fuck are you even doing?
Oh, was it? I didn't know it got that far.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. Maybe they'll actually change something. Who knows? No, I don't mean with this game, but I mean like in the future, like next 2 years or something, maybe they'll commission some different stuff.
I hope the Battlefront management feel a sense of pride and accomplishment in what they've achieved.
Exactly. Guys, just take that Starfighter Assault gameplay and just make a new Rogue Squadron with that, please, and then I'll probably buy that and make it single player.
If they did a modern Rogue Squadron, mate,
I've been trying to play it. It just about
you're onto something.
It's sort of working on Dolphin now, even though it because they have this like new Uber shaders thing that sort of helps with the stuttering. Doesn't totally fix it, but it's a lot better than it was. It's playable now on my computer. I think on yours it would probably be fine, Rob, because you basically need to brute force these kind of emulation things.
Well, let's get Rogue. What is it? Rogue Squadron 2 actually had. Well, it was using a buffering effect that was sort of not possible until Dolphin 5.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
some hardware trick they could do on the GameCube that they weren't able, that no one ever uses outside of the GameCube. So it was tricky to replicate. But Dolphin 5, they managed to pull it off.
Yeah, and there's an update since Dolphin 5 that with just this Uber shaders thing.
Oh, is it an official update? So it was not that long ago. I looked and it was still 5.0.
Oh, it's not a
Oh, is it like unstable release?
Yeah, it's an unstable release.
Right.
It's not an official release.
There's a lot of stuff going on the unstable train. Like they're changing most of their graphics pipeline.
Yeah. So maybe by 6 or whatever, it'll be all cool. But yeah, this Uber shaders thing is like it would build up a shader cache as it ran, and it doesn't really work very well on the modern GPUs or something like that. And so this is like they've figured out a way to like pre-compute the shaders. So when you launch the game, it comes up with a bar that says, "Okay, I'm computing the shaders now," and then it reduces the stuttering in the game, which is quite good.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's one of those things you can load into how much more RAM modern PCs have, because that's the thing with it. Emulation doesn't actually use a great deal of RAM unless you want to load the entire ROM into memory rather than, so you've got, at least on a machine like mine, you've got a lot of pre-compute space to play with.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, that game's good. I liked Rogue Squadron 2. Anyway,
Rogue 2 was a great game.
Yeah, they should make a modern one of those, and you could make it multiplayer and just be the Starfighter Assault mode of this game, Battlefront 2 expanded, and then maybe add a little bit more depth towards a kind of, but not fully towards an X-wing style, maybe, or maybe have a different game modes where some had more depth and some were more arcadey. That would be awesome.
Here's a question: if we take the controversy argument away from Battlefront for a second, is Battlefront 2 a good game?
It's a good question. I think
because no one's talking about that.
Well, people
No,
are
I've
because
not- I've
reviews
not
are coming out
actually-
now.
Oh, are
And,
they?
like,
They're now actually coming out. Okay.
They are coming
I've
out
not seen
now.
a great deal on it.
The only one that I caught a glimpse of was IGN giving it 6.5,
Ooh.
which from IGN is basically like "fuck you."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
But it's also meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the trouble with that was I only saw the number and I didn't see whether it was like because that whoever reviewed it had a problem with the microtransactions and was making a statement, or whether it was just this game isn't very good.
Mm.
I mean, the footage I've seen, like the Starfighter Assault, which looks fun. I don't know about like, the actual core game, the shooting stuff. It's probably better than it was because there's loads more maps, and there's a class system. So I think it's just a bit better. Still looks amazing, and still not got the depth of like a Battlefield, which is kind of
someone saying that like the hero system is problematic.
It was super problematic in the first one.
Well, it's all right if
apparently-
no one can fucking unlock them. Then it's
Well, it's not really the problem with people unlocking them. Apparently, the problem is now that instead of like just like the heroes becoming a thing at a certain point, as they did in the first game, now because everyone's earning points towards their like per round bonuses or whatever, basically like the kill streaks of this game, I guess you'd call it. Everyone's earning points towards that thing, so at a certain point, just a whole bunch of heroes appear on both teams.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
right.
so everyone's ult pops at the same time.
yeah, and obviously because it's based on points, the team that's winning just then proceeds to win more because they get to the heroes first, and then they just kill everyone really easily on the other team, and so on and so forth. It doesn't the classic Battlefield balance problem where you're giving bonuses to the winning team,
Sounds like a MOBA problem, actually.
or more of a Call of Duty problem, I guess. The kill
Yeah,
streaks
the
were
kill streak
basically
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kick 'em while with their down system.
I mean, maybe that I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I guess it's more dramatic if you can actually come back from behind, because otherwise, the slightest like balance tip at the start of the game can make the rest of the game pointless.
It's one of those things you have to treat it like it can work. That sort of occasion can work if it's like limited in some ways. It's basically the equivalent of a power play, right? In hockey, you have to like you've got this. You're short-handed for a while. Let's just get through it, and then you can push through the other side in some way. If that is like if an equivalent is baked into a game, it's like okay, we're down. We're gonna have a hard time for a bit, but if we can hold out this short storm. And it's doable, and doing that is possible, and the team can rally and get back together, and then come back in some meaningful way. That is one of the best feelings in competitive gaming. And like that's great to come from behind in a multiplayer game feels good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's not.
But it's got to
happen
be
in this
mechanically.
kind of game.
But yeah, it's got to be mechanically feasible, and in a Battlefield game. Any of the Battlefield games, that's a nigh on impossible thing to achieve.
I mean, some of the Battlefield games, it's like, I mean, that's why at some point there's always things like spawn protection and stuff. Some Battlefield games, it's definitely possible to get forced all the way back into your base spawn and fight back from there. Depends on the level, because sometimes it's basically spawn camping, and like depending on how the layout is, sometimes your base is quite spawn campable, and sometimes it's not so much, and then you actually have a chance. Speaking of Call of Duty, I guess.
Yeah.
Segue. Yeah.
Talk about their loot box problems
Well,
and server problems.
yeah. The bigger thing with Call of Duty was that it hasn't launched particularly stably on the server side, to the point where they were basically non-functional for a while. The new HQ system seems to have been a real problem for them. So HQ is basically their lobby system now, which is no longer menu driven. It's you walk around a sort of base camp,
which is probably like doubly sucks for them because that's where they wanted to have their loot boxes. They wanted to have their dumb loot box system where loot boxes are shown off for everyone who's in the lobby, and you're like, oh, look at this shit I just got.
So they were like shared areas, and you could join other people's HQs. It could be used as like clan hubs and things like that. It's actually a relatively interesting idea. except it blew up the servers. It didn't work so good. To the point where their solution has been, we're going to take shared HQs effectively offline. So when you're using the game, last I heard anyway, it might be fixed now, but about a week ago, it was you could log into an HQ, but you'd be the only person there. The game wouldn't actually be sharing your presence with anyone. So it was a very empty experience. And yeah, so their loot box, their weird, like you could watch people unlock loot boxes in the HQ thing wasn't possible. Yeah, so they've not had the best of weekends or best of launches because it's Call of Duty. They've kind of been all right with launches for quite some time. But why did this one go wrong? Was it too big? Has it actually sold bonkers? Is that what's going on? And like, there's just too many people that way beyond what the last few years have done. Because word on the street is that game's all right.
Clearly, Call of Duty servers don't know how to handle people walking. They know how to handle people sprinting incredibly fast, but not like standing around and looking at crates.
I guess. I played the first or most of the first mission of that.
How'd it go?
It feels like Call of Duty 2, and I had quite a good time.
Cool.
Despite the fact, the first mission is the D-Day landings, right? They got to get that out of the way.
I guess.
And
not that they've done that in Call of Duty before, apart from like they've done the point to Hawk, I suppose, which was like.
Didn't they do it in COD 2? Didn't that have D-Day in it?
That was Pod to Hawk, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. D-Day was in Medal of Honor Allied Assault,
which
the team then made Call of Duty, to be fair. But,
yeah.
And that was a long time ago. That game looks pretty bad. It's after Half-Life, right? But it was pre-modern, or it was kind of proto-modern shooter still.
Yeah.
It was kind of copying Half-Life and being a World War II game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, in a weird, it's weird. Yeah, it's interesting you bring it up because this does feel quite throwbacky in many ways, like the way it handles, the way it moves, the non-regenerating health in the campaign. Which I guess the least COD 2 thing about it, because COD 2 I think had regenerating health.
I think it did, yeah.
So this has gone back to a health bar and first aid kits that your squad mates will generate over time that you can choose to use when it's convenient. And but in the first gun you get in the game is the Garand, and with the satisfying with ping, the ping and everything like that, and but it also has some of the problems where it's like it's the D-Day landings, right? Machine gun nests. There are plenty of sections where you could take 2 steps and just sort of die, and then have to replay that section again, through no real fault of the player. It just kind of happens sometimes because D-Day.
I would have thought that would have been a prime opportunity for them to do a thing kind of like Battlefield 1 did, where you just you don't play as one person, you just play as anyone who's still alive.
Oh right, yeah. They
just jump between them as you die.
Would that be seen as they did that because Battlefield 1's intro kind of tries to do that?
Kind of does that as well, right? Where they have the occasional random person who's not really relevant, and then eventually they just get killed off.
You'll spend a single mission as a random guy, they've done.
So it's not like
they've moved away from the character hopping storylines of late.
Sure, but I mean, they would be able to get away without it looking entirely like copying Battlefield.
Yeah, and it would have been problematic. Well, I suppose you could have met up with your squad, and at that point, it's revealed that whoever you were playing with at the time happens to be
in that squad. Yes.
Yeah, happens to be the lead character.
The objective just happens to be where you needed to go to meet up to that squad.
And then it's there you go. You're golden now. Just go. That could have been really cool. Actually, I'm with you on that. That would have been a fun. That'd be a fun way to start the game. Not to be so punishing straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Here's. I know you're not really supposed to enjoy D-Day in many ways, but equally, it's that could have been a very nice presentation trick. But speaking, it's worth mentioning this. I played that on an Xbox One X, and it looks fantastic.
Is this on a 4K screen or a normal screen?
No, this is a 1080 screen, but it's running 4K super sampled.
Oh yeah,
And COD will run 4K with better lighting, better shadows, better texture detail, all of which is noticeable over over the base version. And it's a fantastic looking game. I'm quite impressed. I came away from that going, okay, the X is something.
Yeah, it's not just numbers. It's like on screen straight away.
Yeah, you can feel it. Like more than I know you're seeing it more than anything, but it's a meaningful difference, which is pretty great. Like they achieved what they were setting out to achieve, I guess. The expensive machine that is ultra powerful and makes games look amazing. Yeah, they've done it. But I have to agree with the reports that say it's a difficult thing to recommend. Because it is what it is. It is an incredibly powerful machine, but boy, Microsoft needs some first-party games to back it up.
Yeah, they really, really do. What are they doing? So what's the plan?
Well, I mean, Phil Spencer has sort of admitted that Microsoft are aware that they've dropped the ball on that front. But what that actually means, who knows? Because, Microsoft haven't had a particularly great track record with their new attempts at first-party titles, right? Recall was a bit of a disaster. Although they may have fixed that with a definitive edition, I'm not sure. Scalebound was obviously cancelled. Crackdown is being forever delayed, and that's not really a new IP either, but it's a first-party title. It's like, where is the interesting stuff coming out of? I'd go as far as say I think Microsoft have dropped the ball on their idea Xbox program, which was once, could be described as the bastion of like, here's some interesting, quirky indie games coming to consoles. Microsoft were ahead of that curve. But now PlayStation is way beyond them on that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just everything MS used to, it feels like they got right in the past is just no longer a thing. And maybe this is all not their fault. Maybe this is all side effects of the fact that they're losing the market share battle.
Yeah. Or maybe even, maybe developers were just as turned off as consumers by the whole weird original focus of the Xbox One.
Yeah. It could be entirely just that the developers and the publishers have chosen to shift focus despite Microsoft wanting people to come back. But that's when you as a platform provider, you have to invest in making stuff yourself. Oh, Sunset Overdrive. I forgot about that. Sunset Overdrive was a good thing that they brought in. But obviously that team are now working on Spider-Man, right?
Which is a PlayStation exclusive, right? Or timed exclusive or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to Spider-Man for some reason. Well, not for some reason, but they have a good pedigree and
for tangible reasons. Yeah, and that team's
for good reasons.
I like that team a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot of hope about that. But yeah, so when's the big Halo game next? What's going on with that franchise?
I don't know, really. I mean, Halo Wars 2 was this year's thing, right?
Oh, who cares? Jeez.
Oh, you. And there's no news on Halo 6 yet, or whether that's going to be a thing. Apparently, the Halo 5 X patch is very, very good. Like they've done a very good job at bringing that game to the X and making it work in 4K and run smoothly and all that sort of stuff. Respawn sorted out their Titanfall 2 patch, by the way, so that now works on the X properly. That was a bit of a controversy for a hot second there, that the X version ran worse than the PS4 Pro version, and they were like, "What's going on?" And it's like, "No, that's our fault. We'll sort it out." And Respawn did. So there you go. That's fine.
Convenient segue into Respawn.
Into Respawn. Yeah, there we go. That worked out. Back to EA.
Yep.
EA have officially bought Respawn Entertainment rather than just publishing their stuff.
Okay.
So they can kill them later.
Yep.
Great.
If
And
whatever
then
the Star
distribute their
Wars
team onto Frostbite projects.
if whatever the Star Wars game that Respawn is working on
Is now a multiplayer game. Because,
Yeah, well,
because fuck single player.
Yeah.
Or maybe they thought, okay, Battlefront 2 is going to be bad. We'll get Respawn working on Battlefront 3 now.
Yes,
And then-
secretly. It's going to be like Call of Duty, where you've got two different teams that do slightly weirdly different takes on the same game.
Yeah. We'll just churn these out. Battlefront will be annual now. They've got a story to finish.
Well,
If the campaign doesn't finish, I don't know.
it was all very suspicious, basically, where the order of events appeared to suggest that EA basically has sacrificed Visceral in order to buy Respawn. Like they had to balance their budget by getting rid of one studio in order to buy another one. And also the other suspicion of like, because EA was publishing Titanfall and Titanfall 2, the fact that they released those at such bad times, which fucked up Titanfall sales, and therefore probably made Respawn cheaper to buy.
That is such a conspiracy theory. But possibly accurate. Really sucks if that is ridiculous if that's true. I guess I was about to say, I guess we'll find out if the release schedules are kinder to Respawn in the future.
Yeah, I guess.
But actually, that they could have just learnt that lesson from Titanfall 2 sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they really should have learned it from Titanfall 1.
Well, Titanfall 1 wasn't really released in competition with anything. It came out like in March.
Well, it was still fairly close to something that I don't remember.
It was close to something.
Yeah.
In March?
Yeah, I think there was some fairly larger thing. Not exactly like a Battlefield or anything.
In like it was 2014, wasn't it, that game?
But yeah, well, they, give them 2 years and then EA will close them down.
Yeah.
They've got basically, if
If they're called Respawn, they'll just come back in another company. It's fine.
Yes, I guess. If they're doing Titanfall 3, which I think has been almost confirmed, but not really.
Oh, let's hope so.
If they're doing Titanfall 3, if it sells as bad as 1 and 2, then they're basically done. That's it. They've got one shot.
One opportunity.
Yep.
Mom spaghetti. It's ready.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that news? Is there anything else going on?
There seems people, well, because it's Game of the Year coming up, people can't seem to decide for some reason whether PUBG should be on the list. Of course, we know it shouldn't be, but some people want to put it on there.
I mean, I'm fairly foot down on that.
Yeah.
I don't think that game's out yet. Anything could change between now and its release. When I think that's when the developers say, okay, we think it's in that position now, that's when you should review it, right? That's when it should be eligible. So yeah, games could change from anything into anything now. That's just the landscape. But I think when a dev finally stamps something as version 1, that's like, that to me feels like the moment where a developer or a publisher takes a step back from what they've produced and goes, yeah, this is what we wanted to make.
Fair enough.
In an early access game, you don't know if they've got there yet. You don't know if that's what they really wanted to make. I know Kerbal's physics model changed several times over that early access process, and took ages to get to that version 1 release, and then I know they've changed it again, like after release to some extent, but
Wow, I think in Kerbal's case, like, the stuff that changed after release was like more subtle, but still, it was like the 1.0 version was more about content than it was necessarily about the physics, weirdly, even though the physics is basically the whole game of Kerbal. It's like they finished making like rocket parts and graphics and stuff at 1.0. It was like, this is what this game is going to look like, and these are the models that are going to exist, but not necessarily done with the tinier tweaks to the physics and the aerodynamics. So I guess you could say that they were done. And it's, in some ways I've been thinking about like the patches of Factorio as it's gradually getting towards a 1.0 version, and it's like the content hasn't really changed for quite a while. They did their uranium thing with the nuclear power. It was the last major content in the last patch.
Didn't they do a graphics rehash not that long ago?
Well, they're still sort of in the middle of the graphics reworking, up going to higher res. But they kept talking about things that are now essentially cut, like the space platform, where you were going to have a separate level essentially, where you'd work on a small constrained area to build.
Right, so that's actually a very good example of the thing that I think you've got to be careful of, like when you're talking about an early access game. Like I was about to call it an EA game. That's
also,
yeah, it's not quite right. but yeah, it sort of is right. But yeah, you're talking about an early game, when you're reviewing it as an early access game, are you reviewing it on the promise?
Yeah,
it's like
you can't.
You shouldn't.
Well, you shouldn't really review early access games anyway. Yeah. In terms of reviews, you give impressions.
I mean, PUBG and I can see why people might want PUBG to be the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds to be the exception, because it's already fantastic for a lot of people, right? They view it as fantastic, and the game hasn't even come out, and it's so I can see why they would want to review the game in its current state, because it's already good, but it might get better
or worse.
Yeah.
Well, I think at this point it might from the sounds of the developers talking about it, it sounds like they still maybe want to try and make a 1.0 version before the end of the year. But at this point, that seems like they just want to do that so that they can get Game of the Year reviews.
I would argue that they would probably have been at a 1.0 for a while. I don't know what they wanted to add. They said they wanted 3 maps.
Yeah, I think in the last patches they've been doing some map work, like new areas, a deserty area somewhere. So I don't know what's that like.
Oh, and wasn't there some movement stuff?
In
the works?
Vaulting.
Yeah. What could be some fairly
major gameplay changes?
Game-changing things, and then that's the sort of stuff that makes me shaky on this. We know those things are coming, and they could shake up how the entire thing functions.
And the other problem with them saying they maybe want to try and make a 1.0 release before the end of the year is what about the Xbox version? Because it's not that's not going to happen this year. Fairly certain at this point.
Well, Xbox at least has a preview program.
Well, yeah, it does.
So it could release as an early access title on Xbox.
But then that leads you to the whole other problem with early access things. You just think, I always have to come back to this example. But what about fucking Space Engineers? That got a console release. It wasn't even out on PC. It's what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, Ark's the other one, right? Because that's technically not out either.
Yeah.
And it does quite well for itself. It released an expansion pack for the game that is also in early access, for a game that's in early access. That was weird.
Yeah, so it's problematic in terms of deciding when to review stuff. But for games where it's more obvious when it's a 1.0 release, like PlayerUnknown's Battleground.
Even Minecraft, right?
Yeah, and Minecraft, right? They very definitively, even though there's been so many updates to Minecraft since then, and they've just had another Minecon where they announced a new mob that's going to be put into the game, and it's it's not like Minecraft was done when they said it was 1.0 really, but they said it was 1.0 and therefore reviews.
I mean, that is games now.
At a certain point, I guess the developers have to choose when they want reviews. That's what's actually going to happen at this point. They have to say, this is the version of the game we want you to review right now, and then maybe we'll continue working on it.
See, I quite like the idea, of a developer being able to. I mean, it's up to the media ultimately, but if the developer could somehow coerce people into a re-review.
Well, I think that some reviewers have tried doing that before.
Well, sure, and people do that now with that's what you retro review. like an old game in the modern age, that has value
Well, I
to
don't
me.
mean retro. I meant like reviewed fairly recently.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think it's a similar concept. Like so, reviewing the changes to a game feels similar to me to going back to it's that sort of like it's a non-standard review format that still has value.
Well, that's what the Steam reviews are for now.
Yeah,
most recent reviews.
But
see
Steam
what's
reviews.
Up. Yes, but Steam reviews. Theoretically useful, but not really.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. Would you does there need to be a new media policy of like if a game decides to go V2 on its release?
Yeah, but then it flips back around to like now the developer can just say whatever version number they want and have that be re-reviewed. If you're going to base it on like explicit, like someone saying what version it is,
the media won't want anyone taking the piss, right? If they V2 it after a month, no one's going to return to that, right?
You can't form a policy on it if it's just.
No, it will
back
be
to judgment calls. It's basically nothing has changed.
It will be gut feeling, but like I can see the argument of like someone like an IGN or someone like that going back to a game to review it properly, or revisit it. Properly is not the right term. Like they reviewed it when it was at that phase, right? Fine, but if a game has changed significantly, there's argument in those bigger outlets going back to a game to put the record straight for how it is now, because reviews ultimately are to serve the consumer, right? That's the whole point. So if the landscape has changed since the original review was made, the outlet may be in their interests to provide an updated version of that service.
Well, I mean, people have tried doing it, and maybe it will happen more in the future because now it's becoming more of a problem.
Yeah, it's going to take some time to figure it out because who knows if these re-reviews would have the same traffic impact, right, as just reviewing new games. Yeah. Is it
probably why not many people do it?
Is it the thing you get your interns to do? Is a re-review an intern job, whereas your new games are your?
Yeah, but then you run into the problem of like if it's a different person reviewing it, then it's a different review, right? Because now you're not getting the same person to tell you about what's changed, how they view it differently now.
Yeah, true. But then that's valuable in itself as well. Yeah.
Is it as?
It's like when we come to a game. Ultimately, like we come to games late generally,
mostly, yes.
And it's like here's the review of what it's like right now. With all the gubbins, with all the changes, with all the Game of the Year updates they might have done.
Sometimes.
Here's the cheap gold Super Plus Plus edition you could have got hold of. Speaking of which, Black Friday... I don't know if this isn't a segue at all. Speaking of which, Black Friday sale on Xbox is happening at the moment. And there are some deals there. 50% off Horizon 3 for the Play Anywhere version. Sounds kind of okay. I need to double check whether my steering wheel would work with it before I take the plunge, but like that might be alright. That's like 20 quid, I think. Which,
worth a
if
try.
You want that PC version, it doesn't get better than that. Gears is down to 15. I thought Gears 4 on Play Anywhere as well. But you can get cheaper disc copies if you're only going to play it on your Xbox. Actually seems like a relatively decent sale. Some stuff there. Some stuff.
Gears 4 might be alright.
Well, yeah. It'll be a Gears game.
Has that got an X patch?
It will do. I don't know if that's been officially released yet. But we already know what to expect from that because the PC version. Same with Horizon 3. I think Horizon's going to get Horizon 3 will definitely get an X patch as well. But again, we kind of know what to expect.
Cool.
Because Play Anywhere.
Well, I think that'll do for news, don't you? It's time for what you've been playing. What you've been playing, Rob? What you've been playing?
Shall I get some crappers out of the way?
Yeah, get
Well,
them away.
I mean, that's probably how this has to go.
I've played Micro Machines World Tour, or whatever the new one was.
No.
There you go.
What a shame.
In fairness, I've had a very limited experience with it. I played it in local multiplayer, which, according to the person I was playing it with, seems to be the best way to play that game.
Oh, it's
Where
Micro
it functions
Machines.
like actual
Where-
micro machines.
Exactly, because it plays like Micro Machines. And when it's like that, we had a good time. To be honest, I think there's definitely some odd things about this version. Like, the car handling feels decidedly not tight.
Well, it would be more like Micro Machines 4 was, where everything kind of
It's a
feels
bit-
like weirdly squidgy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it is quite squidgy. It's not like, remember the V3 handling in particular, and I mean, even the old ones beforehand. It's like your ability to turn and point the car in the direction you want is not the problem, because the car just turns.
Yeah.
And you let go of the stick, the car will face that direction and stay facing that direction, and it's about momentum at that point. That's not that's not how it works anymore. There's a certain amount of like rotation-y, physics-y things, like you're actually having to drive a little bit, and the surface you're on can cause things like spin-outs, and you can oversteer and understeer, and it's like these mechanics are there, and that while they don't feel terrible, it doesn't feel like Micro Machines to me, and this then starts a snowball effect where I miss V3.
Yep.
And I miss what that game did. I miss how the power-ups in that game worked. I miss how some of them, because the eliminate, like when you explode in this one, you're out immediately. Like there's no like, if things go real bad for every player or most of the players, there's not
Everyone
a moment.
dies simultaneously.
Yeah, there's not a moment where you have a chance to respawn and still be in it, which is kind of dumb but kind of entertaining. And it's it does that to some extent. Where if everyone dies, it goes into a draw state and puts the players that were alive back on the pit. So if, say, 2 players were out in a 4-player game, and you had 2 left. If those 2 died simultaneously, it wouldn't put everyone back. It would put the last 2 that were alive back in the draw state to carry on. And the point scoring system works mostly the same as it always did. The first person to go out gets penalised the most. The last person to stay in gains the most. That still works. But the weapon selection was better in V3. The new game no longer does the cool. This car is for this track thing. You can pick a car from the list, and you can pick any car for any track, which means that it limits them in some respects in terms of tracks ideas, because you now can't have water levels, because not every car is going to be able to be a hovercraft.
I mean, that kind of limitation could have been fairly easy to make. Just have the whole category of water-based cars versus land-based cars.
Yeah,
that was only one category distinction.
Exactly.
But
Or flying levels on the Micro Machines games that did that.
The whole point of the track-specific cars was it like completely changed the handling, basically. Like you had the level where it's like the school table level, but you're in the incredibly fast cars where it's just an oval essentially. But that level's designed specifically for those physics.
Yeah, because I don't think the speed of the cars or anything like that changes level to level. Is the other thing? Like, so they haven't gone to that level of tuning. It's like they can tune the surface that you're on. That much became clear because there's some levels that are a bit icier or slippier, and so it still has that material effect. But these all feel like steps in the wrong direction. Like a modern V3 would be a pretty spectacular game.
Yeah.
Don't change anything mechanically. Just make more levels. Make them look modern. Keep Brian Blessed, because he is a saving grace for that thing. Brian Blessed is cool. And it's not that annoying. Having him shout overtime on a long-running match is quite satisfying. Overtime! Yeah, it's cool. He should be in every Micro Machines game. And this is all. Admittedly, at this point, all I'm talking about is the local multiplayer, which seems to be the only way to play Micro Machines as you expect. The online experience is apparently awful because the amount of loading it does, and the amount of waiting around, the amount of steps you have to wait for other players before you actually get into a match. And then when you get into a match, most of the gameplay seems to be now focused more on racing than it does the micro machines-ness of multiplayer. Its core thing is gone. Which seems stupid. Why would you do that? I mean, have it as a mode, maybe, but not the main focus of your game. And there's combat as a focus as well, and on some of the multiplayer modes. And it's like I don't think whoever made this version of Micro Machines really gets what makes Micro Machines special in the pantheon of games. This feels like an also-ran.
Yeah, sad times.
That said, it's a very good-looking game. I really love how it looks.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
Potential for something.
Nice depth of field usage, which is, finally appropriate because everything is tiny. That depth of field effect kind of...
The tilt shifty, yeah.
Yeah, that tilt shifty look kind of makes a great deal of sense here.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, and there's not that many tracks
Isn't tilt shifting meant to make normal sized things look small rather than make small things look small?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like how it should look, right? Is what I mean. Like,
yeah.
But it's not like they're having to use tilt shift artificially. But it just sort of makes sense here. So yeah, it's a disappointing package overall. But look, it's still, don't get me wrong, the local multiplayer is still fun, and it's how Micro Machines should be played. But it's still not V3.
You need to make a video of that, evidently.
Yeah, definitely. I'd watch that.
It's race them cars.
Yeah, exactly.
That would make more sense than Opus Magnum videos.
Opus Magnum videos make perfect sense. I explained exactly what's going on.
Yeah, sorry, I should have gone from number 1, not number 7 or whatever.
Definitely go for number 1. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's an ordered series.
Cool. What else?
Neon Chrome is a co-op, top-down, twin-stick roguelike shooter.
Right.
It's one of those, and it's okay.
A bunch of types that I don't like.
Anyway. Fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah. Cool.
Imagine Alienation, which I've talked about before on the podcast, which is a twin-stick, sort of isometric-y, top-down co-op shooter thing, but not roguelike. Roguelite, I should say, I suppose. But simplify it down, make it a bit more harsh, make it a bit more about random loot and the run to some extent, and balance it so you need to keep everyone alive, because if you're down on players, things get very hard very fast. And that's what you've got. It's okay presented. It's not graphically too stunning. It's a little bit confusing to see what's going on. Controls just fine. Good soundtrack. I'll give it that. The soundtrack is pretty great. In that sort of cyberpunk, fake 80s future Blood Dragon sort of way. But just average. A fun way to spend some couch co-op.
Cool. But yeah.
But just average.
Well,
I don't know when that came out.
It's got to be some average games.
Yeah. And I've played through most of the Sonic 3 part of Sonic and 3 and Knuckles fairly recently.
Way.
Vital Sonic gameplay.
I know. I was just like, it got to the point where actually, after playing Sonic 2, I hadn't really used my Mega Drive all that much, and it still sat under the TV. So it's like, I better play through this Sonic 3 and Knuckles thing I bought.
I better do this.
Do you think there's something to my theory that Sonic games are meant to be played on smaller monitors than we have these days.
Yes,
Or
there's an
smaller
element of that.
TVs. Yeah.
I mean, input lag on old consoles is a thing.
It's not even that. It's just everything's fucking
but...
huge, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, like modern 3D games or whatever. Like there's more peripherals or whatever, right? Or there's more. I don't know. I don't know how Sonic Mania handles it. I presume you can see more of the level than you could in classic Sonic.
It's just designed for widescreen.
Yeah, right.
And it, in the same way that Sonic CD rebuild was designed for widescreen. I mean, it's not bad.
No,
it's just that I'm aware my TV doesn't handle SCART or RF signals particularly well. It's just bad at that. Which makes them way more garbled and a bit like it doesn't like bright white screens, which is a bit of a problem at the end of a special stage, right? Because it fades to white and you get the or whatever the end of special stage music is. You got a Chaos Emerald is just all white, and so that causes the screen to flicker out.
Oh dear!
Red, and be like wah. But it plays fine when you're actually in levels and stuff. There's something quite nice about playing Sonic on the Mega Drive controller. I don't know. That is that to me is pure nostalgia.
Yeah,
like it's just like, oh, this is nice. That Mega Drive controller isn't that hot. Let's be honest.
No,
but it's still not by modern standards. But there's a memory there that this feels right. Sonic 3 is a fantastic game. But sod some of those boss fights. I'd forgotten about that Carnival Night Robotnik level. It's like, it's not bad. It's just really tedious. And it comes at the end of a really long level. So I timed out.
Well, yes, that is the one problem. But, definitely worse bosses than that.
Well, I'm having a bit of a coughing moment. And a bit of a stomach upset moment. Ooh.
Yep.
Well, you're right, man.
I've been having problems with that recently.
Oh dear.
It's a bit quite random. Never ends in vomit. It just ends in that sort of sound.
Do you want Zeg to take over for a sec then?
Well, I'm done with my crappers, to be honest. We're on to the big stuff.
One important game to talk about.
Yeah.
So not that there's necessarily much more to talk about, I suppose.
I'm up to Seaside Kingdom.
Oh, me too. I did
in Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm in the same place then. Did you choose that one in the fork in the road or whatever? So you haven't done the snow one.
I've done snow first.
Oh, okay. I haven't done snow, so you're ahead of me.
Snow was all right. I like the race.
I mean, there's not much to it the first time through. Because you pretty much just have to do
the boss and the race.
Yeah, the way to get to the race and then the race, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
You just leave. But, when you come back and you actually go outside, there's some more to that. Not much more to that level, but some more.
No, it's the level where I've got the highest percentage of moons, I think, before I've got stuck. And I'm just like, I don't know how to get any more in this area.
Yeah, I am slightly worried about going back and running around being frustrated, not being able to find any moons anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you because I think I'm overdoing it. I'm going back. I've not really gone. Sorry, I haven't really gone back to areas particularly, but while I'm in an area, I stay there for a while. The Lost Kingdom is the one I've probably got the highest percentage on because
there's not much to it.
No, it's one of the smaller areas. I think I've got all but 6 moons on it, and there's only one of those 6 I know exactly where it is because it's in a cage that I don't know how to break. And I know I've got some hint art for another one, but I don't quite know how to trigger it or what to do with that.
Well, the hint arts of the stars count for the level that you get the hint art in, not the level the moon is in.
Right. Okay.
So if you've got hint art of the Lost Kingdom, that moon counts for wherever you got the hint art from. Not.
Oh, interesting. That's a weird choice.
Yeah, it is slightly.
Yeah, but then what about the moons?
So there's still 5 on that area. I don't know anything about where I'm going to find them.
Well, you can go talk to and find out what they were called, and then.
Yeah, I've got no idea from those descriptions.
Yeah. So. I'm kind of in the same boat there.
And there's only one level where I found all the purple coins, for instance. And I spent a long time on New Donk, and I've got no idea what else to do on that level. And there's 20 odd moons I don't have.
Yeah.
That area, and it's where are they?
Well,
I ended up not really having any. I never used hint toad.
I've never used that.
I never bought these. Oh no, actually, that's a lie. I did it one time, but
just to see what it was like.
Well, no, I did it one time for a type of moon that I hadn't seen before, and then once it pointed out the really obvious thing that I hadn't noticed, I was like, "Oh, that's just a type of moon." And then every other time when I saw that name, that arrangement of name appear in any other level, I was like, "Oh, it's that moon." Well, I have to do the same thing that I did that one time.
Can you spoiler-free describe what that word is?
Not really.
Okay.
He's done quite well to not spoil that.
But yeah, it's one of those things where.
Well, the problem now is that I want to know if I've done that thing.
Well, that's the problem.
It's like the Zelda thing with the trees.
I don't think
the triple tree problem is
I don't think you will have, because I think this is one that only appears in the after credits. When you get extra moons, I think maybe not.
So does the tally per level go up then at some point?
Yes.
Wow.
There's
all the ones I'm seeing at the moment are theoretically gettable.
I don't know for sure that they are, because there's definitely a couple where I came back and I was like, because it very specifically marks all the ones that appear after the credits in the list.
Oh, okay.
So you know that those are definitely the ones that have unlocked. But there was definitely a couple that I was like, I think that it's in the old list, but I'm not sure that existed before this point.
Right. So I was assuming that a lot of those ones were that I've not been able, because moons aren't that tricky to come by.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't.
I just assumed that most of the ones I wasn't seeing were just. That's probably post-game content.
Yeah, I get the feeling that maybe there is some that might be in the default list that you can't get until after the credits for some reason. Even though there's that very distinct way that the new moons appear when you come back to an area after the credits, and it's very clearly marked in the list. I think there are still some that you couldn't get until after the credits anyway. It's why would you do that? You're just giving Rob a problem when he thinks he can find 5 more moves, but he can't because they're not actually real.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's not what you should do anyway.
No, I know.
Just go through the game,
go through the
credits, and then come back.
I know I shouldn't, but I do like to try and ones I think
spending time in the
about.
levels as well. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I've spent ages in New Donk.
Yeah,
and I'm not 100% sure I really like that area.
I like New Donk City. I
like its music. I don't like the people part of it. I still have a bit of a problem with the. I know. But it's one of those things where it's actually it's both kind of the. I think New Donk represents both the best and worst of the game simultaneously. Mild spoilers. The dinosaur bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had such a smile on my face when that happened.
Yeah.
It's I was just like, oh, okay, that's amazing. It's just that is awesome.
But it was the one other time they used that T-Rex one.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, you did that was fun. I like that. And there's a couple of other bits in New Donk, especially where you're just that's cool, and the festival is cool.
Yeah, the festival was fun.
And that tune has grown on me so much. I went from being this is weird to being I kind of love this. With that jazzy number.
Speaking of tiny little subtle polish things, did you notice that when you get to the end of the festival, if you hit Pauline with your hat, the vocal track cuts out?
Yes.
She's actually singing it.
Yeah. I stood there just hitting the trumpet guy, in fairness, endlessly, just making him go.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. There's some real neat touches there. Because I guess they had to, because there's a bit where Paul talks to you, right? And
it cuts.
Yeah, but it's not like she actually talks.
No. But you get to the top of the thing, and when you interrupt her, she has to stop singing at the right time, and the band keeps playing.
Yeah, but they didn't have to do that. It could have just been a song.
It was nice. I got.
Yeah, but by the worst I mean is I think it's where the game visually suffers the most. I like the styling of New Donk. They've done the New York thing pretty good.
Yeah, pretty well.
But it's where the hardware I think is struggling. it's been the one time where I've noticed, the dynamic resolution is kicking in quite hard here, and it's going a bit pixely. And it's also the most obvious place where the animation, or the lack of animation interpolation kicks in very close range. With the people walking around suddenly go jagged animation. Or low frame rate animation, and I find that how I feel about that. We've talked about that in games over the years. And
they look quite weird.
I find that really very jarring, and I which is a shame because I think the direction of that level's pretty cool.
Well, one thing that I found weird about it, but only because someone pointed it out, and then I was like, "That is weird." Like you don't notice it when you're just running around, but like the girders that are swinging on a wire, they're not connected to anything.
The wire doesn't go anywhere.
The wire just goes up and it disappears. You don't notice it unless you actually realise and then look down from the top of the building and be like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, they're just floating weirdly. I did notice that.
Wow. Well, you're right. I had... That's broken me.
Yep. It's weird, like you just don't notice until someone points it out, and then you're like, "Oh yeah."
No, I totally noticed that. It's weird. I don't know.
And it's like they could easily have just put a crane in there. It seems kind of unnecessary.
Oh, man, I just got quite fed up with a little section because I saw a moon, and I still haven't got it. I'll have to go back to it. But when you go to the power plant or whatever to turn it on. Just before the end of that section, the spinny platform.
Oh, that was quite hard.
The vertical spinny platform. It's right at the end of that section, so every time you fall off it, you have to start again and go through all that stuff again. It's like, oh god damn it!
I'm with you on that. I found that quite irritating.
There's something
about there's something about that spinning.
Well, it's the classic like Mario problem way back in Sunshine, where it's like standing on rotating platforms. It's like when do you suddenly lose grip and not be able to stand on them?
Yeah, exactly. Or when do you over jump over the top of it or whatever?
I think there was one on the Woodland Kingdom that I found really tricky in a similar way with spinning things. Once something embedded in a wall behind a canopy or something, it was just really tricky to pull off. Which I don't mind in some respects. It's like it's hard, but it was frustrating in the sense like, okay, this isn't hard they weren't necessarily hard in an enjoyable way. It was nice to have some challenge.
I wouldn't mind that challenge with the spinny one if I could respawn next to it, but I can't. Anyway, never mind. And usually the game's quite good at that, but not there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of spots where it falters like that, but they are few.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. It's true.
It's like that power plant section is probably one of the larger like
submission.
Sub rooms.
Right. Yeah.
You consider the normal like where there's two moons inside this screen. And it's not quite a screen, but it's not very much bigger than one screen's worth or whatever.
I quite like that trope is mostly predictable. I'm pretty
100%.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's been some sections where it's like there's no double moon in here.
I think I've only seen like one.
The puzzle ones.
Which puzzle ones?
Like the block puzzles. There's been a couple of. Snow Kingdom blower block puzzle. Really easy. I'm pretty sure there's only a single moon in there.
I'm not sure which one of the blower.
Oh god, there's more than one, right? Okay.
One with all the spinies, and like you wander through them, or is that part of the mission? That's part of the actual mission, isn't it?
Maybe.
Where you get the clouds and the spinies. You can take over the clouds. Oh god.
Oh, is that what you mean by the blowers?
The
clouds. Right, okay.
Oh, are you talking about the one where there's just the air vents and it's like it's in the brightly coloured blocks, like blue and orange platforms?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if that's even Snow Kingdom.
I'm not sure. No, it was quite literally like there's a square. Those when you blow blocks, they move.
Yeah. Like
they have to move to the end of where they are, and it's like put these blocks in the right place.
Oh right, yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
Because there was that puzzle. There was early on. You've got I possess this bit of staircase or something. And
that's the only one that I know
place.
For sure. There was only one moon in there. That the rolling the piece of masonry.
I mean, like some of these rooms Oh God,
Maybe.
I probably missed quite a few
It
there.
depends. I might just not be remembering. But that one was the one that I distinctly knew for sure. Where I was like, "This is really weird that there is another moon in here," because it is a really small area in that specific in the Lake Kingdom one.
Because I do always look for two, but then it freaks me out when there isn't a second.
Dad's gone really quiet. I could vaguely hear him trying to say something.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
He's back.
You're back.
Oh, I don't know. I was just saying about the maze that's got glass over the top.
Yeah.
Oh,
that one,
yeah, that was a cool one.
That one's got a second moon behind it. Right?
Yeah, that one wasn't so bad. But
Yeah.
At least I guess with the second moons, there is a pattern to the naming again.
Well, it's most of the time you can see if you at the point where you're using Talkative or whatever, you can. Firstly, they're normally adjacent to each other in the actual list, and secondly, they'll often have a name which is like the same thing but longer.
Yeah,
where it's like jump, swing, and climb more. Yeah. It's like, yeah, okay, then that must just be the other moon in this room.
The higher climb or something. Yeah, like the higher climb. Yeah. I do like that they make those hints obvious.
Well, I mean, they kind of had to, I guess, because that's.
Otherwise, you'd be trawling the entire level. Like, okay, which room did I do? Which ones did I get two of? Well, which ones didn't I get two of? I can't remember now which ones I only got one.
Because when you do get back, when you are trying to clear up the last of the game, and you're like using Talkative, and the name is, you come across a name that's just not quite specific enough, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Just have to try and interpret what that actually means.
Well, there's been a few of those where it's like I've got the name. Like, there's been quite a lot where I've got the name, and it's like, and I go to where I think that it must be talking about, and it's like, no, I've got no idea, as it turns out. Especially the ones in New Donk, where like there's a couple of places which are very clearly sort of identified by either the respawn marker or the fast travel markers as this is the name of the area, and the clue has been something to do with that area, and then I'm like, okay, I'm in the area, I've scoured about pretty much every inch of this area. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't found Deep Woods, whatever that was about. Yeah.
Man, that sucks. Once I found out what was up with Deep Woods, I was vaguely annoyed.
Okay.
I mean, I could spoil that. It's not really.
No, don't,
it's not really actually a spoiler in any way.
I want to be annoyed myself.
Okay. Maybe what was even more annoying about it was I theoretically could have missed that for a long time after I came back, and I was kind of lucky that I didn't.
Huh.
Basically, because there's one of the robots that very specifically says about the Deep Woods when you come back, and if you happen to not walk next to that guy and see his text box come up, maybe you still wouldn't have worked it out.
Which I haven't.
Well, you haven't been back yet, so you would.
I guess
you would have anyway.
Also, you'd have had to have left and come back
after the credits as well, because different NPCs spawn after the credits.
Okay, so I'm not going to find that.
No.
That's fine. That was my suspicion anyway, but yeah, that's fine.
But the Deep Woods definitely isn't a post-credits exclusive area, which is why it's very annoying. Right, You'll find out.
You could have got there, but that just gives you clues.
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, as a system,
there was plenty of other moons to get in Steam Gardens.
That area was a lot bigger than I initially thought. Nothing quite as cool as the Jaxie yet, though. Love that thing.
Oh man, I need to go back. I still haven't tried the Jaxie.
Still didn't find the Jaxie. Good. I have gone back to Cat Kingdom just randomly.
Oh, it's because there's tons of moves there that you couldn't have got because you weren't there.
It wasn't possible to have got
because they didn't exist when you were first in the Cat Kingdom.
I think I've only got like 3 of them. That's what I've only quickly gone back to and done a few, but they didn't seem like for the was it the list of 15 or whatever that suddenly turn up on that level. They didn't seem quite so everywhere as I was expecting. Because it's a tiny area.
Well, yeah, I guess. Kind of.
A couple of doors I think I can get through that I couldn't before.
Well, yeah, that was the one bit where I was like, I knew it. Because when you first go through Cat Kingdom and Cascade Kingdom, there's very obvious giant rocks that are in front of doors, and you're like, how do I remove this rock? And it turns out the answer is you just come back in the future, and those rocks will have mysteriously disappeared. There's no ability or anything.
Yeah. Or at least on Cascade, it's like, yeah, you can T-Rex most of the blocks.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's those green. Like, there's a door at the behind where the chain chomps are in front of the T-Rex, and there's another door on that little cliff path next to where all the spiky enemies spawn.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That are just obscured by green boulders the first time through. Not even T-Rexable rocks. And I'm like, oh, I guess when I come back, that will mysteriously be open now.
There's been a couple of times where I've noticed that very obviously. Like, the Snow Kingdom has one where if you can find some stuff while you're wandering through the fog part of that level, and you're like, oh, I can't get at that.
Oh, right, while the blizzard is still happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can very clearly see what that is, but I can't get to it. And then you finish the thing, and it's like, yeah, that's all gone.
The blizzard is cleared.
Yeah. And I suppose that happens in Sand Kingdom as well, right? You know,
Yeah,
when all
the
the ice disappears. And
Yeah, of course.
it's still cool.
It's cool.
I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but
it's good, man.
It's weirdly not getting its claws in me. Like I said before, it's like I have no real major faults with it, but it's just not sinking its teeth in like Splatoon does.
You still managed to get most of the way through it, I guess. Fairly quickly.
I don't think I've put that much time into it. It doesn't feel like I've put that much time into it.
I mean, technically, getting through to the credits doesn't really take that long, I guess. No. But it sounds like you've still been playing the levels for a long enough time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I hung around in New Donk for several hours on its own. I think that's the other thing. I think I'm just, when I am putting time into the game, I think I'm slow. And I don't think I'm getting particularly far, particularly fast.
No, I think I'm wandering around quite a lot, not getting stuff.
I mean, I'm judging that by my now a ridiculously high coin count. Like, I've got like 4,500. But it's like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to have this many coins at this point in the game.
Well, I mean, probably, considering, once you reach the credits and you get the 9,999 thing to buy, you better have that many coins.
I guess, but that's what I mean. It's like you and you told me about that was coming, and it's like, but it's not like I'm hoarding coins particularly. I'm not going out of my way just to go. Well, those coins will have respawned. Let's go get those. I'm just getting there. It's like I'm still buying everything I come across that I can buy.
Yeah.
It's just not so much of a problem. I do think there are parts of the game where it feels like the difficulty spikes harshly.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about that bit with the rotating platforms and other things. There's some of the challenges it makes you do, even sort of just en route in the main line. I sort of say, because Gnome expressed a vague like for both this and Splatoon.
Yeah.
Recently, and a bit like, I might give these a go, which is unusual for her to say about a game. So she mucked around with Mario and New Donk for a while. I just handed her the controller and was like, "Hey, go nuts!" And she sort of had a good time just getting around and trying to get to grips with how things functioned and things like that. And it's like, the classic, it's painful for me to watch kind of thing.
Naturally,
because I could then. What took her like the best part of half an hour to get to somewhere, it's like I could do in 5 seconds. And it's like, there's that. And it's like, no, fair play. She doesn't play games. She doesn't have this built up grammar of Mario, I suppose, that is now just built into us over the last couple decades of this control being a thing. But that was fun to watch. It has that appeal. And then I'm getting to these difficult bits, and I'm thinking, how would casuals get through this?
you just turn on assist mode. That's the answer.
Oh, is that a thing?
When you see the giant screen that pops up when you first start the game that says "Start" or "Start in assist mode."
I'd forgotten. Yes, yes, I did say that.
What does that do?
Basically sort of borrows the thing from the new Super Mario Brothers games, where when you fall off into the pit where you normally just die, instead you go into a bubble and float back to wherever you jumped off.
Oh.
That sounds kind of neat. That actually sounds kind of neat.
And there's also
generally.
like a GPS arrow that leads you to wherever.
Yes,
I'm not sure where it tells you to go, but it tells you to go somewhere.
I remember it advertising that. Maybe that's just mainlining.
Yeah,
Like here are some moons you can get.
probably. But yeah, the falling and respawning thing is probably the main.
Actually, sounds kind of like not a terrible idea just for the main game, right? Maybe that's actually faster.
Well, it's probably faster, yes.
Yeah.
Solves Dan's problem with that new Donk Suan place where
That's true. Yeah. I won't turn it on though. I should be able to do
no,
it.
you got to do it proper.
Well, there's that, and the fact that it return all the other stuff on that you probably wouldn't want.
Well, you can turn it back off. Apparently, it's just a thing you can turn on at any time if you really want to. Speaking of doing it proper, I finished everything.
You finished everything.
Yeah.
You've now 100% of that game.
Yes, I really did, including a big old pile of coin grinding to get by the last few expensive things. And in the total sum of all the moons in that game, there was 2 that were incredibly annoying.
All right.
By which I mean they were actually difficult. There's one which is not really spoilers, but the last challenge or whatever.
Right.
Obviously, that had to be hard because that's kind of the point.
Does it play Hall of the Mountain King as you're doing it?
No.
Thank God.
Why? Which game did that?
That was The Witness.
Oh, right.
I knew that was what the reference that was going to be made about that when I called it a challenge.
The challenge. Yeah.
But yeah, there's that, and there was one other one which was it's a moon that basically it's a capless moon where
Oh right, yeah.
where with the scarecrow that you throw that on and whatever. But it's basically sort of it does like Mario Sunshine. The capless is like the floodless, essentially, isn't it? It's basically the same idea. You lose that new ability, and then you have to do goddamn basic Mario platform.
It should be a cappella all the time.
Yep.
That your hat isn't on.
Yep, clearly. But there's one of those where it's basically the capless version of a room you've already done. So it's exactly the same layout and the same. There's still 2 moons, and you're still doing the same thing, but now you have to do it without the cap. So you have to do it again. And like when you do it with the cap, you run out along this thing, and there's bullet bills, and the bullet bills are destroying the platform, and you get to the end, and you grab the key, and you come back and get the moon. It's all fine. Except when you're doing it with the cap, you get to the end, and then you just capture a bullet bill, and you just fly back, because it's way easier than running all along these platforms.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But when you have to do it capless, you go out there all along the platforms, you get to the end, but then the only way to get back, if you want to get the second moon, is to like drop to a lower level, and then have a bullet bill follow you all the way back to this wall that you have to destroy at the end to get the second moon. And that requires you to do like 8 or 9 perfect long jumps in a row onto single tile platforms and not fuck it up. And that took me like a really long time. I think I probably like burned like 2,000 coins just dying over it.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that
A real challenge.
that moon sucks.
Yeah.
Holy
The
shit,
actual
that-
challenge is difficult but manageable.
It's kind of cool that they're there, though.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I mean, I'm sure I'll say something different when I actually do it. But
Well, you don't have to do it. Those definitely are post-credits stuff because you don't even get to the levels that they're in until after the credits. I don't know where the original version of that bullet bill challenge thing actually exists. I don't remember what level that was in. But yeah, the capless version is a fucking pain. Precise long jumps.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the game's constant need to use a dither effect. Did we talk about that last time? It's like my brain is constantly saying you could have just faded that. You didn't need to dither that fade.
Unless that's just what the fades look like in that engine for some reason.
I know it's a bit strange. Just a thing. Just a personal gripe. I'm not a big fan of the diver.
Sure. Cool. Well, we've all been playing Mario then.
Yeah.
And some Splatoon,
And
but
got-
I actually have not a lot more to say about Splatoon's still amazing.
No, yes. And, maybe next episode you might get to the credits, maybe. Judging by how far you've got in this last
Yeah, maybe.
2
See
weeks.
how we go.
Yeah.
Then I can talk about all this stuff I want to talk about. God damn it!
Oh, right. You'll
Take
wait
a
for
year
us to
when
get
we
the
can-
credits.
Oh, of course. Yeah, well, we'll have got it all done by Goatee and spoiler territory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is more important, but also I just want to talk about it.
We'll just do a spoiler cast at some point, though.
Well, wait, I think once you guys have finished it, I'll consider that sufficiently long that I can just talk about spoilers. For everyone.
Okay.
For the world at large.
All right.
Fair. Cool. Have you got any games you've been playing besides that, Zeg, to talk about?
Yes. Well, sort of, briefly.
Okay.
I mean, obviously,
Cool.
obviously, I finished Opus Magnum.
Oh,
Yeah.
you finished it? Cool.
Well, the thing about it, there's about 3 more videos to be uploaded, and then that'll be
Right.
I'll be done uploading them. So I'm not actually that far behind.
So-
I'm like Factorio.
Is there a way you can get like the top 100 badge this time?
Well,
the first 100 badge.
sort of, except not really. See, I got to the end, and there was a pop-up which said, get your reward or whatever, except this time it's just a link to a store page where you can order the Opus Magnum badge. But it's like the wording in the store page sort of is like, did you finish the campaign of Opus Magnum in early access? Then buy this thing. And I was like, that's not as cool, but I
No.
guess it's all right. But the weird
It's
thing
not
about,
really a reward
No.
at that point.
no, the other weird thing about it was when I looked at that, when I backed out to the like whole store, there's an Infinifactory badge there that's like, did you complete the campaign of Infinifactory to 100%? And then there's a like asterisk, and underneath it says, to your interpretation of whatever 100% is, does that mean the main campaign? Does that mean the full
Yeah,
Overlord
right.
campaign, or what, like the second campaign? Whatever. And so I was like, buy this badge. But the thing about that one is,
It's not your badge. is
No,
it? Okay, that's
it's
good.
specifically it says on top of the conveyor, it says 100% rather than first 100, which is
I
not
see.
the one I
Yeah.
had. So it's like, oh, well, I guess.
So your one's still special.
Yeah, my one's still legit.
Yeah. No, that's something. I was a bit worried that it was just going to make something that was like okay, but you've just diminished the point in me doing it that well.
Yeah. But so, not really focus bank is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. So
There is still a thing you can buy, which is nice and fancy and like a nice stone
Hmm.
patch or whatever, but it's not as exclusive.
Yeah.
So-
You're not being rewarded for your patronage to Zachtronic Industries.
Not quite. But yeah, the campaign of Opus Magnum kind of ends abruptly in a way that makes me think that maybe it will do the Infinifactory thing where
There'll be more.
Be another
chapters.
campaign.
Yeah.
maybe. Apparently it's probably going to come out of early access very soon. He's done with his bug fixing phase.
Hmm.
Which, well, not very many actual bugs or anything. So that will come out maybe before the end of the year, so it can count
Yeah.
as a game of this year.
Handy. That's pretty
That
quick.
would be helpful.
That might be a case of a very, very quick early access turnaround as well.
Well, that's what he did it with Infinifactory as well. Not quite as quick, but
No, Infinifactory was definitely in early access for a noticeable period of time, but it was pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a month quick.
no. I don't know how long Shenzhen was because I wasn't paying attention at the time.
Did that even early access?
I think it did. I think so. I don't remember. But yeah, and then
Did both those come out this year?
what?
Shenzhen and
I don't remember. I feel like Shenzhen was probably last year.
okay.
But yeah, and then at the end, there's also the journal, like how in Space Game there was the journal of basically user-created puzzles that had been curated and then re-uploaded into a proper format or whatever. Only in this one, it's the Journal of Alchemy, so it's got like little flavor text where it's like, this is a thing that this guy created and it does this, except it's just a bunch of random spheres joined together in the pan. But then there's a submission thing where you can be like, upload your puzzles to the Steam Workshop and then write an email to the Zachtronics address and submit your puzzles and see if they can get into the journal. So I did that for some puzzles I made. So we'll see if that turns up anything, but doubtful. And then when you finish the game, you can also, there's a menu option that appears to turn on the top percentile on the histograms, because obviously you have the regular histograms where it's like you can see vaguely what the average is and have a good idea what the low end is. But then you can turn on the top percentile and see what the actual lowest is. And that's dangerous, of course, because there's several where I was like, my area is 1 square higher than the actual lowest, and I'm like, fuck, now I have to look at this solution that I thought was good.
Yeah, no, I want to reevaluate
and go even harder.
Yeah. Can I figure out that one? Can I beat that one?
It's mainly worse for the area, though, because when it is like one space, and I thought I'd optimize it as hard as I could, and it's just like, god damn it. Now I have to go back in here and see if I can shave one more square out, make it rotate slightly less or in a different direction.
Assuming you can't just look at other solutions, like that person's solution to try and pick up a trick that you missed.
Well, I'm sure you can go on the internet and find solutions for everything. Particularly the best solutions. I bet you can find those on some forum somewhere.
Maybe.
Someone's probably already posted there. This is the best answers. So yeah, there's that. And then talking of other things that I played very briefly, and things that I play constantly, but that actually have a tiny amount of new stuff to say this time. I played Rocket League, and for the first time ever, you wouldn't have thought this was possible considering how much I played Rocket League, but I saw something new, and it finally confirmed to me that spin exists in Rocket League.
Huh.
Okay.
I've played all this time, and I've never actually seen convincing evidence that spin is a thing that it actually happens, but this time I actually did. Like when I hit a ball and it came down directly above the goal, but the ball was spinning and the spin put it into the goal off the ground.
Huh.
And I was like, holy shit, spin actually is real.
Nice. Confirmed.
But subtle.
Yeah, it's not very strong. Not because really the ball in Factorio doesn't spin very fast. It's like you can't make it spin very fast.
The ball in Factorio.
Factorio. Ball in Rocket League. I'm about to talk about Factorio as well.
Okay.
But there you go. My train of thought is getting ahead of itself.
Yeah.
But in Factorio,
Rocket League runs well on a PS Pro.
I'm sure it does.
Better than it does on a base one.
Wonder how well it runs on Switch.
Very good question. I know it's cut back visually quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah. No grass.
Well, no. Yeah, and then in Factorio, I finally, after a long time, finished the Death World game that I was playing, launched the rocket, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I've completed that goal.
Yeah.
Not that there's any reason, it was just a self-set goal, there's no achievement or anything.
It's the hardest thing you could have done.
Yeah, I guess. Sort of. I guess you could make it even harder if you wanted, because the Death World settings are like a preset. They're not technically as hard as you could make it. You could just ram those settings way up and make it literally impossible. But then I downloaded someone had a bright idea and basically looked at the Minecraft mod pack of Sky Factory and Skyblock and said, why don't we do that in Factorio? Except in Factorio, it's C-Block, because obviously you're just in an endless ocean instead of the void like you are in Minecraft. So you start on a single tile in the middle of the ocean, and, well, the single tile has a crate on it, which has a bunch of stuff that you need to actually be able to play Factorio. It's not quite as, making stuff out of nothing as Minecraft is. In the Factorio version, you're making stuff out of seawater, which makes marginally more sense. Like, you take the seawater and you run it through an electrolyzer, which gives you oxygen and hydrogen, which are basically irrelevant. You just vent that back to the atmosphere. But what's left is, it's just slag, and it's just, mineral content, I guess. And then you process the slag into actual minerals. That almost makes sense. and then like you use seawater to grow algae, and then you can like compress that and turn it into basically wood and then coal, and it's like that always makes sense. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
It's almost science. But yeah, it's basically not in terms of like a mod pack. It's very similar to just the basic Bob's mods and Angels mods that I've already played before. Those are the main two mod packs that everyone uses.
Okay, Bob's Angels.
Yes, but so there's not really much that's different. It's just the challenge of not having actual resources to mine. Having to make everything out of nothing or water, which makes it slightly more awkward. And because of the way like Bobs and Angels have a lot of, I guess they do even in the deep like normal versions, not this mod pack version, but they have like loops where stuff feeds back onto itself. Like when you're growing algae to turn into wood and then fuel. The algae require carbon dioxide to grow. So how do you make carbon dioxide? Well, you burn the wood that you make. So it's a loop, but then like you're producing slightly more carbon dioxide than it takes to grow the equivalent amount of algae to make that piece of wood. So you're getting a slight profit in carbon dioxide. So then it's all just maths, and you're like, I mean, you're either having to do calculations in the limit and be like, every time this cycles, I'm getting a very marginal profit, but if I add more to it, it negates it. Or you're just like, I'm making this much extra carbon dioxide compared to how much it uses to make the algae, and then you do all these calculations and pipe work, and it's a pain. But that's Factorio anyway.
Yeah,
it's just a slightly different version of Factorio.
A slightly different problem to solve.
Yeah, that's what you want once you've played a whole bunch of Factorio. Solve things in a different way. But yeah, it's always a good idea when someone just sees an idea like a mod pack and is like, oh, I can do that in this game instead. Let's have Skyblock in all games.
Fortnite. Skyblock in Fortnite. Build everything.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could. It'd be like a Gary's mod.
Yeah.
That's basically what Gary's one zombie defense was, wasn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Just build everything out of bad things. Because Gary's one was barely functional back then.
Funny as hell, though. I'm going to build a trap out of boosters.
Yeah, all boosters.
Well, didn't I just use my classic attempt to make my classic rocket crate?
Yeah.
Where I put boosters on all four sides of it and mapped it to the numpad.
Yeah, map it to the key command to try and make it fly around.
And then put blades all over it.
Yep.
And then just use that to crash into zombies while I'm on a super high up platform.
Yes.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Gary's mod.
It was impossible to drive.
Yeah, naturally.
Can't drive my square.
You'd think it would be easy because it's only 4-directional, but physics.
Yeah, but physics. Especially if you want to make it actually turn rather than attempt to go in 4 directions.
Yes. And that was pretty much it.
Coolio.
Games!
Well, that'll be it for the Saladcast then. For this week. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. And maybe one or both of us will have got to the credits in Mario. We shall see.
Both of you, hopefully. Come on.
We shall see. And there'll be, check out some, if you want to see Zach playing these ridiculous games, Factorio or Opus Magnum, check out our YouTube channel. And there's probably some more videos, including, do check out our Collision Software Part 3, which is now up.
Yeah.
Featuring, wasn't there some problem with the sound? I don't know what it was, but you fixed it because it's all fine.
Well, it's not noticeable as
okay.
It's fairly noticeable.
It's okay.
Yeah,
anyway,
so the last couple of games in it's not got a direct source feed.
It's got a bit wrong.
So it's
you can just vaguely hear it through the mic.
It's recorded through the mic. Yeah.
It sounds better than I thought.
Yeah, it didn't come out as that's why. I just sort of ran with it because it's just like it's not perfect, but these games are not perfect.
No. So
I
check
think
out
we
our
can
not
put- I think we
perfect
can deal
games
with
of
it.
your, and I'm sure there'll be maybe there'll be a Microsoft Machines V3 one in the future. So stay tuned for that shit.
I think
And
Dungeons of the Endless is next.
is next on the Steam A to Z. So check that out. And
Unless there's one I haven't encoded.
This is one that you've forgotten
that
how
I've
to
missed. Yeah, one I
indeed.
haven't processed for some reason.
And we'll be back for another Saladcast in a couple of weeks. So till then, what was it? We haven't discussed how we say goodbye. We've just been saying how we say hello.
Yeah, we've got the wrong one.
Yeah, yeah.
Again.
Yeah, I hope it keeps well, fellas.
Continue to keep.
Yeah.
One was all right. I have been kept.
Keep well, keep well.
Bye.
Bye.